Lunarians and the newborn Arceus. The room with a slightly sci-fi style was full of various instruments with incomprehensible uses. In the center of the room, an egg with a strange pattern was fixed on a metal platform. From the outside, there was nothing special about the egg except for its size and patterns. But inside, a strange creature opened his eyes. How long has it been? I've finally accumulated enough energy to hatch. The curled-up body of the special creature stretched out and observed the whole world outside the eggshell. The underside of the creature's torso, mane, tail, and face were outlined by vertical gray stripes. Its four pointed feet were tipped with gold hooves. Its mane juts away from its head, and its face was gray, with green eyes and red pupils, and green circular patterns around the eyes. Arceus. Web links. In another world, the creature's name was Arceus, a mythical Pokémon that created the world. But this Arceus is not the original Arceus. For that, we have to start from the beginning. In an ordinary rental room next to a university, a person who is about to graduate was playing Pokémon Legend, Arceus. At this moment, his doorbell rang. He was slightly curious who would knock on the door at this time, but when he got up to check, a model of a small truck suddenly appeared at his feet, causing him to fall to the ground and the switch in his hand flew out. When he woke up again, all he could feel was chaos. He could feel that his body had changed, but he couldn't move while a special consciousness entered his mind. That was the newborn Arceus. Then, he felt drowsiness and he fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up again, he already had the ability to sense the changes in the outside world. To be precise, he could also feel the changes in the outside world before, but the outside world was full of chaos at that time. During this time, he received the knowledge that belongs to this body, and also accepted what happened to him. Anyways, what can he do if he doesn't accept it? It's not as if he could do anything about it. At this time, he was not Arceus, but an Arceus egg. 18 plates were surrounding the eggshell, protecting the life form in the egg. Afterwards, he seemed to be pulled by an unknown force as he passed through a solid barrier and came to a whole new world. And in the process, some of the plates scattered in order to protect the eggshell when it collided with the mysterious force, while the egg fell to the land below with the remaining plates. To obtain a body that can move freely, the best way is to find those plates. With the power of plates, he can quickly get rid of the shackles on the egg. But an egg cannot look for the plates by itself. Before he fell here, there were only 3 plates left by his side, and he did not know where those plates had gone. Only within a certain distance could he sense and control these plates. At this time, some strange-looking natives surrounded him. They had black wings and flames burning on their back, which made him realize that this world was not ordinary, but at this time he did not know that these people were from the Lunarian race. He has read a lot of manga before, but when he read the Todo Land arc of One Piece manga, he didn't continue reading for various reasons. To be precise, he only read it occasionally during the Dressrosa arc. He has no impression at all of the mysterious race that appeared in the later stages. These natives seem to worship him as a sacred relic since an egg that fell from the sky cannot be an ordinary thing by any stretch of imagination. Their behavior gave him some ideas. Although he couldn't move, he could find a way to order these natives to look for the plates. They can fly with wings, so they should be able to cover a large area. But he can only sense the changes in the outside world and has no way to communicate with the outside world. He is different from Arceus who created the world. He is still a larva, and his strength mainly depends on the plates. During the process of crossing over, the connection between the plates and him loosened. The big collision when it fell to the ground caused most of the plates to fly who knows where. So currently he can't communicate with others. However, there are always more solutions than difficulties. Among the remaining 3 plates, there was Flame Plate with the fire attribute, and during the sacrificial ceremony, he saw that the natives could use the power of flames. So one time when they were performing the sacrificial ceremony, he used the power of Flame Plate to bestow some natives the power to use more powerful flames. He was thinking that since these natives can come here quickly, they must have seen the process of his fall. Moreover, the impact of the fall was extremely powerful. So, either these people are strong enough to withstand such an impact, or they are extremely fast. Either way, they are an excellent tool to look for the plates. If he reveals to them that plates can grant them power, they will take the initiative to look for similar plates. Either they directly find the magical plate of psychic type, or a few more other plates, then he would be able to communicate with these natives after his strength is restored. As for the language issue, he could tell that it was Japanese. After watching anime for many years, he has learned Japanese by himself through watching a large number of TV series, so he has no problem understanding it. When the time comes, give them some rewards and ask them to find more plates. After hatching, he will be able to do more things. He doesn't know how long it will take to hatch, but his body's instinct tells him that plates will speed up the process. Ideals are beautiful, but reality is cruel. The first half was the same as what he thought. After these natives got the power, they became more respectful to him, and even their sacrificial ceremonies became a lot more grand. And it was also during the sacrificial ceremony he learned that this race is called Lunarian. However, a problem occurred. He heard the tribal chief and prophet discussing the issue of the plates during the sacrificial ceremonies and that they also sent people to look for them, but they never found any. Because of the fusion with Arceus' body, he has no lack of time, so he has a plan too. As long as there is enough time, the power of the remaining 3 plates is enough for him to hatch. When he is born as the sacred relic, he can help these people find the traces of the plates. So he began to slumber, and he would wake up every once in a while to check the changes in the outside world. However, as time passed, unexpected elements appeared in the plan. A war seems to have begun, and outsiders were attacking this place. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have any special feelings for these Lunarians, but due to physical reasons, he regards these Lunarians who worship him day and night as his own people. He also has certain inferences about his own situation. Similar to Overlord Momonga, who transmigrated into an undead, and was affected by his body where his way of thinking gradually approached that of an undead. And his way of thinking was also influenced by the creator god Arceus, but Arceus is not an undead. This influence is different from Bone King's. It is more similar to the combination of divinity and humanity in his body, and the subject of the behavior is still himself. And this kind of behavior of hurting his people has violated his bottom line, but as an egg, he can't do anything. He can only stimulate the power of Flame Plate and give the Flame Plate to the tribe chief temporarily. And this method consumed a lot of his physical strength, so he entered a new round of slumber. But before that, he heard the tribe chief's last order to let the rest of the clan escape this place with him, which was regarded as a sacred relic. Every time he wakes up, the Lunarians around him will have a new face, and the number of people is getting smaller and smaller. From hundreds of people to 10 people, then to 2 families, until there were only 2 people left. The boy is called Albert and the girl is called Shayna. When he woke up again, there were already countless strangers and all kinds of strange instruments outside, but Albert and Shayna were gone. At first, he thought that those 2 people, like the previous Lunarians, died under the pursuit of those enemies, but later he found out that he was wrong. He saw those 2 people later on, but they were in the same state as him, and they were both being subjected to some strange experiments. Because the people above also wanted to find out what the Lunarian egg was. During this time, they tried to hatch it and tried to destroy it, but it didn't work. The surface of the eggshell is incomprehensibly hard. They put the egg, the plate obtained from killing the tribal chief many years ago, the plate they got together with the egg, and Albert and others in the same research institute. Since the Lunarians lost a plate on the way when escaping, there were only 2 plates left. Although the things those people did to him couldn't destroy his eggshell, the strange machines still made him feel uncomfortable. Maybe because his body was still like this, or because of the 2 kids, whether it was the influence of himself or Arceus, anger began to accumulate. Then, one day, the energy he accumulated finally reached hatching level. The 2 plates were next to him, and the distance was within his perception range. So, with the power of the 2 plates and the energy accumulated during this time, it was enough for him to bring the 2 kids out of here. But the first thing to do is to find the boy. They are normally placed in different places, and currently he and Shayna were together, but he doesn't know where Albert is. However, just as he was about to act, he sensed an explosion occur in the outside world, and then the closed metal door opened, and the one who walked in were not those researchers, but Albert. I remember everyone. He was holding a longsword in his hand, and there was still blood on it which hadn't dried yet. Even though he clearly looked tired, he was still very excited. There were many people lying under his feet, and it could be seen that they were the guards of the research institute. Arceus didn't know how Albert broke free and escaped, but for him, it was a good thing. He doesn't have to look for Albert and now can just take these 2 little guys and leave. When the Lunarians were escaping, many people chose to die with the enemy because they wanted to protect his unhatched egg in the plates, so he just can't abandon these 2 little guys and leave by himself. Shayna. I'm here to save you. Albert. It's great that you're alive. We can get out of here soon. We are now free. Albert turned off the device that was restraining Shayna and wanted to take her away. I know my body's condition, I won't last long. I will only be a burden by leaving with you. You should just take the sacred relic away. I'll cover your retreat. Unlike Albert, who still has sufficient physical strength, Shayna was still weak due to more sufferings. She knows very well that she cannot fly very far with her current physical strength. Moreover, sirens could be heard everywhere, and movements and shouts could be heard in the hallway outside. The experiment has escaped. You guys go to Area A, you go support Area C, and the rest come to Area B with me. In such a situation, if no one covers their retreat, sooner or later, they will be caught. In the past, Lunarians have always done this. Whenever there is an opponent who cannot be shaken off, someone will always sacrifice their life, but now it is different from before. It's okay, Shayna. There are people outside to provide us support, we just have to rush out together. Before Shayna could ask who are the reinforcements, a group of guards rushed over from outside. Don't use guns, these are precious specimens. They must be captured alive. Seeing Albert and Shayna, the person in charge immediately made the decision. In his opinion, these guards, who can be recruited from anywhere, are far less important than the two precious test subjects. Even though the two of them were dangerous, he still insisted that his subordinates use non-lethal weapons. Albert, I leave everything to you. I will make a path for you. Shayna clenched her fists. Lunarians have powerful talent, and with the special growth environment, their strength in itself wasn't weak. At least, they are much stronger than these ordinary guards. The flames behind Shayna started to go out. All Lunarians have flame burning behind their back. When the flames go out, their defense will drop, and correspondingly, their speed will increase greatly. Shayna was ready to fight to death as she doesn't believe that someone will provide them support. In her opinion, Albert said it just to comfort her. But no matter what, they have to deal with the enemies in front of them first. Their sacred relic is a giant egg, and even though it is a juvenile Arceus, the egg's height was over 2 meters, and bringing it out will definitely cause him to slow down. Not to mention the plates that were close to 3 meters in size. They couldn't leave with such huge plates and the egg at the same time. Shayna's physical strength was insufficient, so she could only give up on the plate temporarily. They are not giants. They are young and are still within the scope of normal people. It is not easy to move while bringing such heavy objects. These people are not too strong, but they are well equipped and have a large number. The room limits the scale of the fight, and they will not face too many enemies at the same time. But when they had just taken down a group of enemies who had rushed in once more, Albert noticed something was amiss. The eyes of those guards who had rushed in were not him, but behind his back. Moreover, from the corner of his eye, he could also feel something shining behind him. Then a beam of light containing terrifying power shot out from behind the two of them, blasting the guards at the entrance into the sky. The terrifying light did not stop there and continued to pierce through all the walls of the research institute. Through the traces left behind by hyper beam, you could even see the sea in the distance. Sacred relic, Shayna, look. Sacred relic has hatched. Looking back, Albert's tone was full of surprise, and Shayna also looked at the place where the huge egg was present. At this time, the egg had disappeared, and in its place was a unique-looking creature. There is no doubt that the attack just now came from him. Lunarians have always believed that this egg will hatch one day, and today, they finally witnessed this moment, but unfortunately the Lunarians have also completely fallen. Albert, Shayna, it's been tough on you. A slightly neutral voice appeared beside their ears, and following the source of the voice, they looked towards Arceus in front of them. You know us. Of course I know. Ludo, Amelia, Avnisha, Aslan, Nadia. A list of names came out of Arceus' mouth, and he may have forgotten to mention some, but every time he woke up, he remembered the names of the Lunarians clearly. These are the latest batch, and they were also Albert and Shayna's seniors. To Albert and the others, these people are no strangers. I'm sorry, the accident that happened back then made me lose most of my power, and I couldn't get out of the egg until today, but this won't happen again. When I get my powers back, I'll get justice for Lunarians, but first, we must deal with the problem in front of us. The two plates on the side were pulled by an unknown force as the two ashen gray plates shone brightly again before shrinking in size, then they merged into Arceus' body one after another. Then a special energy gathered from his forehead, and the weak Shayna was also suspended in the air by a mysterious power, then her fire of life that was about to be extinguished began to burn again under the input of power. Lord Sacred Beast. Shayna's changes pleased both herself and Albert. For Albert, Shayna was the last of his kin. There may be other clansmen who were surviving somewhere in the world, but among the people he knows, only Shayna is left. My name is Arceus, no need to be surprised. Shayna's weakness itself has something to do with me. Someone had suggested that the blood of the Lunarians might catalyze the hatching of the egg, so these people used Shayna as a blood bank to extract blood unbridledly. In their opinion, since her stamina was not comparable to Albert was a more suitable test subject. That's why they tried it with Shayna. The reason why he has taken over the name Arceus is because it's just a codename and because he got everything from Arceus. Okay, it's time for us to get out of here. These are the things to think about in the long run. He thought that after hatching, his perception ability would improve and he would be able to find those plates scattered all over the place, but except for the two here, he could not detect the aura of any plate. There seemed to be a strange magnetic field in this world that was interfering with his perception. The aura of the plates can only be detected when they are within a certain distance from him. Looking at the guards rushing in from the door one after another, he planned to give them another hyper beam. The two plates he absorbed were the flame plate of the fire type and the blank plate of the normal type, and he used hyper beam just now by using the power drawn from the blank plate. The stiffness which should have been caused by using hyper beam disappeared completely because he was the creator, but before he could fire it again, someone seemed to have attacked the guards from behind, and then a man with a mace walked in from behind. Tall and muscular, but slightly slender, he was wearing a pair of tight leather pants and had a pair of huge demon horns on his head. It was Kaido when he was young. Kaido. Too slow Albert, the number of annoying bugs outside are increasing more and more. The crumbling door fell to the ground with a loud bang, and Kaido walked in. This is a research institute affiliated with the world government, but it is normal for Kaido to appear here. He got captured not once or twice. When he was in Vodka Kingdom, he was the promising strongest soldier in Vodka Kingdom when he was only 10 years old. As an allied kingdom member of the world government, Vodka Kingdom has to pay heavenly tribute every year, but due to national conditions, Vodka Kingdom's economic level was not enough to pay this fee. So, Vodka Kingdom could only obtain heavenly tribute for celestial dragons by waging war on non-allied kingdom members. Kaido was originally a member of the royal army, but one year, in order to obtain participation right for Lavali, the king wanted to give the talented Kaido to Marines and wanted him to participate in Marines' world military draft. But Kaido refused and he was forcibly captured and handed over to Marines. Kaido refused to be the king's political tool and destroyed the warship before starting his career as a pirate. From then on, he would get himself captured whenever he was hungry and use the prison ship as his cafeteria. He then joined the Rocks Pirates, and now that the Rocks are a thing of the past, he once again started getting himself captured. This time, he was sent to this research institute in Red Line to be used for researching endurance tests and lineage factor. For him, not only getting captured is common, jailbreak is also quite common. Moreover, this time he also plans to recruit new companions. And Albert was the one he took a fancy to. He had seen what happened to Albert before and became interested in the talents of the Lunarian race. So he released Albert, but Albert wanted to take the others out of here. Kaido tacitly agreed to this as he also wanted to see how strong Albert could be. That's right, he is the reinforcement mentioned by Albert. Now it seems that not only is Albert quite strong, but his gains are more than that. Kaido may look like a boorish fellow, but he is quite smart. He originally planned to come out at a critical moment to reveal his presence. Judging from Albert's strength, it was impossible for him to slaughter his way out of here by himself. He has been observing them all this time. The girl's strength is not weak, but the most important thing is naturally the just-hatched Arceus. His interest has been greatly increased by the beam of light that contained the aura of destruction. Hey, Arceus, right. Do you want to join my crew? Don't you want to get your powers back? If you join my pirate crew, I will help you get back your lost strength in the future. He had heard their conversation before. Albert and Shayna are a rare fighting force, and they have grown enough to be a person's right-hand man. Originally there should have been no problem. After all, he would help them escape from here, but the emergence of Arceus has brought some new changes. Judging from the situation of the Lunarian race, they will probably obey this sacred beast's orders. If Arceus can be brought under his command, he will not only gain a stronger fighting force, but also further bind Albert and Shayna to him. He likes capable people, no matter who that person is, who he has served before, or what his race is. As long as he values their ability and they are willing to join him, he will not refuse. Moreover, he has plenty of patience. Arceus's strength and the magical means of replenishing stamina all aroused his interest. In Kaido's opinion, the other party was only recently born, and it would be better to be able to subdue the other party right now. But things developed differently from what he thought. Pirate crew. What's your name? Looking at this tall man with long horns, Arceus remembered something, and his face gradually overlapped with the pictures on some forums. But there are some differences between anime and the real world. He still needs to make sure that he has really come here. Kaido. Albert has already agreed to join me earlier. They are Lunarians, and they are wanted existences, especially after leaving this place. The world is a very big place, and it is not enough to rely on only one or two people to look for something. Quote. Lord Sacred Beast, Brother Kaido saved me, so I. That's all right, it's normal to repay others' kindness, and others have no right to interfere in your life. Arceus is more concerned about another issue. The name Kaido, who intends to establish a pirate crew, plus some information obtained from the Lunarians in the past, he finally determined where this is. It is One Piece world. However, in the later stage, he only occasionally read the plot in forum posts or through big data push. Although he knows about Kaido, one of the future 4 emperors, he doesn't know the details. Arceus doesn't know the more detailed information of the 3 calamities, so he doesn't know that Albert is the first of the 3 calamities in the future, King the Conflagration. In that case, the identities of those who captured the Lunarians was self-evident. And that weird magnetic field interference also has an explanation. He doesn't know where the rest of the plates have flown away. The 4 Seas, Grand Line, Red Line, the area is too large, and finding the plates does require more manpower. If he were to look for them by himself, who knows how long it would take to find them. He can't fly for the time being. Due to the loss of the flying, physic, ghost and other plates that can help fly, as well as him not being fully mature yet, his main body cannot fly during this period. And he is also not sure about the range in which he can sense the plates, so instead of wandering around the world like a headless fly, it's better to send someone to search for some information. Objectively, world government would have been the best tool, but it is impossible for him to have any relationship with it. That is the influence of personality fusion. He is still him, but he has some original Arceus preferences. To him, betrayal and deception are unforgivable, and those who covet the plates also cannot be forgiven, let alone the people who treated him as a research object. The potential of the future 4 emperors is really good. As for whether they are marines or pirates, it doesn't matter to him for now, he just wants to get back his plates. But for this reason, if he had to become someone else's subordinate, he can't do it. His own personality is actually not so arrogant. Society is a whetstone and the internship gradually mellowed his personality. Without enough background, even the spikes on his body wouldn't be left. Now Beast's Pirates has just been established and he will be the founding member if he joins. From the perspective of many emperors, Kaido has always been good to capable subordinates. As long as there are no major accidents, he is destined to become the Emperor of the Sea in the future, which is one of the biggest forces. But Arceus is different, the mythical Pokémon who created everything, the creator god is his identity. Deep in his bones he has inherited Arceus pride, which makes him feel like he has returned to his young hot-blooded days. His goal is to collect the plates, but focusing on the result does not mean the process is not important. I won't join any crew, but for the sake of helping Albert, I can make a deal with you, a deal you can't refuse. Arousing Kaido's interest. A deal I can't refuse. You seem to have just hatched, so what can you use to trade? I admit that you are quite powerful, but it is not good enough to trade with me. Moreover, what is the difference between this and joining me? Just join my crew, okay. So what if you are wanted? Just stay behind me, I will not hand you over to anyone. Quote. In Kaido's view, the other party's strength may be good enough, which is also what he likes, but he prefers to bring him under his command. He likes people with Zoan-type ability, and he has this idea at this time, otherwise he will not have the idea of creating a Zoan user's army in the future. Although Arceus is not a Zoan user, gathering animals with great strength and wisdom was also his goal. Kaido was waiting for Arceus' answer, but at this time, the reinforcement of the guards arrived again, irritating Kaido. A powerful aura erupted out from his body and Conqueror's haki swept out across everyone present, causing the guards who had rushed over to fall to the ground like reaping wheat. He was showing his qualifications. If he wants to recruit excellent subordinates, he must also have the qualifications. Kaido's main target was those guards, but this aura also affected Arceus and the others. The next moment, a more majestic aura rose into the sky and pushed Kaido's haki back. Arceus, born from an egg in the land of chaos, has created a whole world, and as a newborn, he has started at an end that some people could never reach. It's just that the lost plates have weakened him a lot. For him, the missing plates means that he isn't immune to attacks of some attributes, and the speed of energy recovery has also slowed down, but the aura belonging to the god of creation will not disappear. As for his own strength, he had a rough guess about it. Evaluating it from its worst and most undignified situation, it should be when it tried to block meteorites with its physical body, but got seriously injured. Of course, with that size it should not be called a meteorite, but an asteroid. Moreover, at that time, Arceus did not break it, rather it completely neutralized it. And Fujitora can summon meteorites, which is considered a big move for him. According to the strange theory of relativity, only someone at Admiral level can cause such damage to Arceus. But, this is the worst case to come to a conclusion. If Arceus at that time was a little wiser and dealt with it in other ways, the result should have been better. Although he has just been born and lacks a lot of plates, Kaido is also not at his peak. He hasn't left Rock's Pirates for too long and even the foundation of Beast's Pirates has not been established yet. Although Kaido can become stronger, Arceus believes that he can also become stronger. The confrontation between the two people's aura did not determine the winner, so both of them withdrew their aura at the same time. After the aura confrontation ended, the corners of Kaido's mouth gradually rose and he began to laugh wildly. Worororo, interesting, so interesting. The future is going to be interesting. Arceus's aura doesn't belong to that of a conqueror's haki. He could still differentiate if it is haki or not, but a person who could possess this kind of aura will never be a mediocre person. But the stronger the opponent is, the more he wants to recruit him. If Kaido was only slightly interested just now, then now it has gone through the roof. If the other party was an enemy, then he would have locked up the other party and dealt with it slowly, but the relationship between the two parties is still friendly due to the Lunarians. In that case, it is better to take it step by step and first make a deal with the other party, then gradually recruit it. Although he still doesn't know the content of the deal, with strength and boldness, the content of the deal doesn't matter. It's just that they have to leave this place first. He could sense more and more people approaching this place. Let's leave this place first, we can discuss other things slowly. Kaido's body began to swell, and then a blue dragon burst through the roof and spat out blast breath towards the surrounding people. Lord Sacred Beast, let's get out of here too, can you fly? Shayna and Albert spread their wings and planned to leave this place, but looking at Arceus who has no wings and has short legs, Shayna weakly asks this question. If he can't, they can only carry him. However, Kaido, who has always been good to his own people, looked at the situation below and a large cloud of flames appeared from below, dragging Arceus and others into the sky. Kaido, who was flying in the air, spat out blast breath from time to time, completely turning the place into a sea of flames and then planned to fly away, but Arceus stopped him. Wait a minute. What are you doing? Let me take back a little interest for Lunarians first. This place has taken great care of them during this time, so let's start from this place. Then, the ring-like object around his waist turned crimson and a plate appeared behind him before a light ball began to condense above his head. Judgment. Judgment, Arceus' exclusive skill, is also the strongest skill he knows at this time. At this time, he and Kaido both wanted to show each other their skills. Kaido wants to recruit him, while he wants to have a more dominant position in the deal with Kaido. The energy ball flew into the sky and when it reached the top of the building complex below, it exploded with a loud bang. Like world-destroying fire meteors, countless fireballs smashed from above, completely razing the building complex below to the ground. When the guards who were chasing after them and the people who were originally putting out the fire and rushing to save Data saw the changes in the sky, some of them even gave up running. Man-made disasters can still be avoided, but how to escape the natural disasters that can destroy the world? Kaido's blast breath turned the ground below into a sea of fire, and Arceus' fire attribute judgment directly turned it into ruins. As the power of two plates only this much. Arceus didn't hold back at all as he also wanted to see how much his attack could accomplish, but he wasn't quite satisfied with its destructive power. The energy depletion is not small, he can only use such a full-strength attack 3 times, but Judgment is a large-scale crowd attack skill. If the power is concentrated, the destructive power could be greater. You are really strong. Your strength is comparable to Buster Call. It's really exciting firepower. Going through the roof is no longer enough to describe Kaido's mood. He was obsessed with such strength where one person is comparable to the strength of an army. Where are we going? I've made an agreement with someone to meet in a place not far away from here. Kaido leapt into the clouds and flew around in a big circle before returning back to an island not far from the Red Line. From here, the aftermath of the previous destruction by the two of them could be seen. Sometimes the most dangerous place is the safest place. Many wouldn't think that the escaped test subjects were right under their noses. It can be seen from the buildings on the island that this place should be an island with a heavy commercial environment. Many people were looking at the black smoke rising in the distance and discussing what happened. King. From their words, it can be inferred that explosions happen so often in that direction that people here have gotten accustomed to it. The place where Kaido landed was in an uninhabited region on the island, which did not attract much attention, but after entering the town, they still attracted the attention of many people. It was not because of the bounty or their identity. Except when one is a pirate or his profession is closely related to pirates such as being a marine or bounty hunter, ordinary people don't recognize all pirates, unless their reputation resounds throughout the horizon. Although the current Kaido has some reputation, it has not yet reached the point where everyone knows him. It was because none of the people in their group looked normal. Although there are many people with unusual physiques in the world, most of them are normal in size. So, a small giant like Kaido will naturally attract the attention of others. And besides Kaido's physique, which was greatly different from ordinary people, there were also the wings behind Albert and Shayna. The flames can be temporarily extinguished, but the wings cannot be retracted into the body, so they had to be covered in huge black robes, covering their faces, and coupled with the unique appearance of Arceus, the group was quite eye-catching. Albert, you are sufficiently strong, so you can call yourself king in the future. Your original identity is troublesome after all, and it will lead to too many unnecessary problems. Quote. World government has never stopped the bounty on the Lunarians and the reward for any information is huge. Lunarian's characteristics are too obvious, and if he swaggers through the streets, he will cause countless troubles. Whether it is for Albert or Kaido himself, the identity of the Lunarians need to remain hidden. After saying that, he looked at Shayna on the other side. I want 3 powerful people to become the strongest fighting force under my command. They will be called 3 calamities of All-Stars. Now I am just 1 short, how about taking this position? Hearing this name, Arceus turned to look at Albert. With the ability to ignite flames behind his back and black wings, so he is king who will be the leader of the 3 calamities of the beast's pirates in the future, but there are still some differences in his physique and it seems that he will grow a lot taller in the future. But no matter how you look at it, Shayna couldn't be the famous ship king. Oh, yeah, with her condition, Shayna should have been dead. At that time, he used the power of the plate to replenish Shayna's vitality, otherwise she wouldn't have been able to survive till now. Moreover, it can be seen from the previous battle in the Research Institute that Shayna's strength is not inferior to Albert's. So, she is capable of holding Jack's title, but Shayna did not accept it. Thank you for rescuing Albert, but it was Lord Sacred Beast who really saved my life. Whether it was when Lunarians worshipped him or now, I will only obey the Lord Sacred Beast. That's a pity. 1 second he was still sighing, but the next moment Kaido burst into tears ignoring the situation. It seems that the repeated failures in recruiting had caused his emotions to greatly fluctuate, but he was determined to have Arceus join his crew. His heart rate was beyond description on having added another talented youngster with terrifying strength. At this time, Kaido seemed to be uncontrollably exuding his aura, causing everyone around him to stay away from this madman, and the streets soon became empty. Even if Shayna doesn't have a code name like King, the probability of her name revealing her identity is very low. The population of this world is quite large, so there are many people with the same name and even people with similar appearance, there are quite a few. As long as she pays attention to hide her distinctive features, it will be fine. Although the wings and flames are quite obvious, they are not without a way to hide, such as devil fruit. Their strange abilities are the best way to cover up the distinctive features of the body. A zone-type devil fruit that can fly is enough to cover up the problem of wings. As for flames, there are many who can use fire. As passers-by were scared away by Kaido's aura, a figure on the empty street became extremely conspicuous. The figure was tall, fat and round-looking, with a mechanically modified prosthetic left hand. He was wearing sunglasses, had purple lip gloss on his lips, a golden scorpion braid on his head and 2 golden mustaches. It is the person Kaido is looking for and also one of the future all-stars of the Beast's pirates, Queen the Plague. The reason why Queen is here is related to his previous identity. He was the member of MADS a few hours ago. MADS is a crazy research group. Its leader is a genius known to be 500 years ahead of the world, Vegapunk. MADS was an illegal organization not long ago, but it has now been incorporated and is carrying out some research projects under the orders of the world government. The research institute where Arceus and others were previously located was where the people of MADS were carrying out research. At this time, among the MADS were scientists with each having their own ideas, who gathered together to study many things, and many of them could be called lunatics. But the world government only cares about Vegapunk. They do not plan to absorb everyone in the group, so MADS can be said to have been disbanded. Vegapunk has been led away by Cypher Pole to Mariajoy in order to discuss the specific details. This is also the reason why the garrison of the institute was slightly weak. And Kaido's escape has something to do with Queen. It was Queen who released Kaido, who was captured in the research institute. MADS was disbanded, and members of the organization naturally sought a new way out, such as Vinsmoke Judge, who planned to return to the North Sea to revitalize the Germa Kingdom, and there were old forces behind him that he could rely on. Vegapunk has the backing of the world government, while Queen saw the potential in Kaido. The members of MADS have their own specialties, such as Judge, who is a researcher of lineage factor, and Queen, who is an expert of viruses. Their research cannot be done by one person alone, so Queen released Kaido and told him that he can come here to find him if he can successfully get out of the research institute. However, even if not for Queen, Kaido could have escaped, but he noticed Albor, so he stayed for a while. Anyway, the device that was binding him did not use Seastone, because currently there are not many people who know that he is a Devil Fruit user. He has been captured many times before joining the Rocks Pirates, but at that time, he did not have Devil Fruit as his fruit was given to him by Charlotte Linlin when the Rocks Pirates disbanded after the Battle of God Valley. Since the God Valley incident, Kaido has been captured for the first time. To be precise, he was hungry and wanted to find a buffet, so he delivered himself to their door. This is not the first time that it has happened, and you can say he is already familiar with it. Vegapunk extracted his blood, but left with the sample before it could be analyzed. Although Vegapunk made the first artificial devil fruit by using Kaido's blood, that will happen in future and has not been researched yet. This is also the first time he has used his abilities in such a grand manner. Although the research institute has been completely destroyed under judgment, the news may have already spread. Yo, so you managed to escape. It looks like I will have to call you Boss Kaido from now on. Queen Who was beaten up at the first meeting. Queen was holding a big iron bucket as he said to Kaido. Whether Kaido could leave the research institute by himself was also a test for the captain he chose. The bucket he was holding was full of red bean soup with mochi. Even from far away, you can smell the sweet fragrance. But Boss Kaido, you seem to have found good subordinates. Hey, what are you doing? Before Queen could finish speaking, a figure appeared in front of him and a burning right leg was ferociously sweeping towards his face. The iron bucket blocked the attack, but it also got deformed, causing the rest of the mochi and red bean soup to scatter on the ground. You bastard, aren't you a member of that research institute? I haven't forgotten your face. It was Shayna who had attacked. Queen was affiliated with that research institute before and he naturally participated in some research activities. Those faces were engraved in the depths of Shayna's mind. Neither she nor King has a pure fighting style. What they have learned is just for fighting better, but they each have their own areas of expertise. King is better at sword-type weapons, while Shayna is accustomed to martial arts and has good kicking skills. It was not me who was in charge of research. Ah, my mochi and red bean soup. I only had a bite. The mechanical hand of his left arm blocked Shayna's kick, the scorching heat causing his mustaches to curl slightly, but the mochi and red bean soup spilling all over the ground was the cause of his anger. Arceus didn't stop Shayna. He knew how much pent-up anger she had accumulated these days. Everyone in the research institute was her target of venting, but it seems that Kaido also wants to recruit Queen. You don't care. It's just a fight, why bother? If we want to work together in the future, instead of plotting and scheming against each other every day, it's better to let her fight to her content. She didn't promise to join you. But she will definitely follow all your orders. Are you really not considering joining my pirate crew? I can give you the position of vice governor. Not interested. Before he finished speaking, he felt something wet land on his head, and when he raised his head, he saw that Kaido had again began to cry inexplicably, and he had also brought out a wine jug from out of nowhere and started drinking. Such a pity. King, do whatever you want, but it won't be allowed after today. He could sense that King also has resentment for Queen. It was just that he was not as impulsive as Shayna. Kaido's words seemed to have turned on a switch in King. There was no one who had the upper hand in the fight between Queen and Shayna. Although Queen has a bigger physique, he couldn't touch Shayna at all, who displayed aerial superiority to the max. But the next moment, he also got attacked by King, sending his body rolling to the side like a ball. King and Shayna cooperated quite skillfully. Previously, the two have always fought together, so their tacit understanding was extraordinary. And watching Kaido crying and drinking on the side, Queen understood that Kaido didn't plan to stop them. He wanted to see if Kaido had the ability to leave the research institute, and Kaido seemed to have the same idea. You two bastards, you have made me angry. Queen's skin started turning rough and a light brown color began to spread out. His round body became even taller, and a huge Brachiosaurus appeared in front of the two of them. Dragon fruit, ancient Zoan, Brachiosaurus form, a quite rare ancient Zoan of Zoan type. However, unlike ordinary Zoan users, Queen's body has quite obvious traces of transformation. Not only his left hand, but also the tail end of the whip on his tail and head has mechanical hooks. Although the attack just now caused him a lot of injuries, the stamina and resilience of Zoan users is quite powerful, and he is still far from his limits. Don't know what he did to his body, but two gun barrels extended out of his mouth, and shot numerous bullets at Shayna. However, Shayna just used her wings, which were surrounded by a lot of flames, to block all attacks of Queen in front of her. The stronger the flames of the Lunarians burn, the stronger their defenses will be, but their speed will become slower. So, flexibly switching forms is an important part of their battles. Then King took over Shayna's position, while Shayna's flaming legs kicked the Queen again. Since King currently doesn't have weapons, Shayna's fighting power was stronger than his. Girl who plays with fire, try this technique. Bridle grabber. The mechanical claw at the end of the braid ignited with flames, and then it went to grab Shayna under Queen's control. However, as the flames on Shayna's back extinguished, her speed suddenly increased, and she kicked the opponent's face again. However, she was still relatively weak, plus the size difference, so she did not achieve much success. Her growth ceiling may be quite high, but she is still quite young after all. She is a lot weaker than someone who has been strengthened by devil fruit and mechanical transformation. But in a 2-0 situation, he was still ruthlessly beaten up by King and Shayna. Watching Shayna and King vent their resentment, Kaido also stopped the battle. The past grudges are over from now on, and everyone will be on the same boat in the future, but Queen was not convinced. Fight me 11 if you are capable. Then, I will let you know what strength is. Aren't you just relying on your fat? Don't talk nonsense, little girl. I have muscles all over my body, and I'm so fat because I'm worried that I'll become too handsome after losing weight, and people will become infatuated and fall in love with me. If you see my lean appearance, you'll become infatuated with me. Stop dreaming, narcissistic bastard. Even if you lose weight, you won't be very strong. But, Zoan users are really wild. Even after getting beaten up, you are still jumping around. Shayna, do you want similar power? Arceus suddenly asked Shayna, and after getting a positive answer, the flame plate emerged. This is his summary of his abilities in the past. Arceus created the world gave birth to Pokémons, which means Arceus originally had the ability to use the power of the plates to create Pokémon. At this time, with a little modification, and using the power of creation, he can do a lot of things, but he has not practiced it yet. So, he wants to try his powers. A special power flowed into Shayna's body, and a burning sensation flowed throughout her body along the blood vessels, and the flames behind Shayna became even more uncontrollably vigorous. Lord Sacred Beast, this is. Try it, it should be similar to the so-called devil fruit. Shayna mobilized the power in her body according to Arceus's instructions, and her hands turned into sharp claws, and a red mask appeared on her face. Seeing this transformation, Kaido suddenly became sober, just like seeing the lover of his dreams. As the person involved, Shayna felt the changes in her body. Afterwards, whether it was her or King, who was a bystander, a flame of hope appeared in their eyes. The ability user's abilities come from devil fruits, which is a kind of common sense in the sea, and anyone with little knowledge will know this kind of thing. If this power had appeared elsewhere, they would have been puzzled, but since it came from Arceus, the sacred beast they worship, then it all makes sense. Why did they have to carry a giant egg on the way to escape? This is a question that every new clansman has asked. And at that time, their parents will tell them the stories that have been passed down from ancient times to the present. The sacred relic that they worship bestowed them with stronger flame power, and those who received the divine grace of bathing in the flames became the most brave warriors of the clan. Once, this has just been a vague legend, but today, he is seeing Arceus' power. The sacred relic that they have worshipped for generations has awakened, and under the illumination of this power, the glory of the Lunarians will blossom again. Blaziken and Devil Fruit. It's just that Arceus was not very satisfied. He found that granting abilities directly seems to consume a great deal of energy. Arceus has the ability to create legendary Pokémons like Dialga and Palkia, but he needs to rely on the power of plates. Currently, he only has 2 plates and his power is not intact, so this consumption seems to be a bit huge. But it also verified what he found about his own ability. With the human body as the foundation, he can directly impart the Pokémon's abilities, but at the cost of his own energy. The ability user that appears from this is not afraid of seawater. To be precise, the ability users are not afraid of seawater or seastone, but a special component called Pyrogroin. It is precisely because there are a lot of Pyrogroin particles in seastone that it nullifies the ability of Devil Fruit, and the seawater in this world also contains Pyrogroin component, so the sea have the same effect as seastone on those ability users. And this particle has no effect on Pokémon's abilities. As for conserving energy, Arceus already has an idea. One is to transform the Devil Fruit, or try to transform people who have eaten Devil Fruit. Of course, he has to experiment a lot of times to know the result. Now, it is time to see the specific effect. Shayna's body didn't change much, she just grew a few centimeters taller, and besides the flames at her back, fierce flames also erupted out on her feet and wrists. By transforming the bloodline, the Pokémon ability is just like Devil Fruit, and Shayna's ability at this time is Blaziken's ability. Saying it in terms of this world, it should be called the Bird Fruit Mythical Zoan Blaziken form. And what he has imparted is the final form, and the ability imparted is fixed. If he created a Pokémon directly, it can slowly evolve from its initial form. However, if he imparts the ability, then they have to go through him if they want to evolve from the initial form. As for why he chose Blaziken, it is because Lunarians use flames. Shayna is expert in kicking, and one of the 2 plates he has at this time is of fire type. He is able to create an attribute as long as he has that attribute's plate. The energy consumption of creation is proportional to the strength of the person who has been imparted the ability and the strength of the Pokémon itself. At first, he wanted to try to create a fire-type legendary Pokémon, but the energy consumption caused him to dispel this idea for the time being. The scarlet mask was covering most of her face and her long white hair was parted on both sides and hanging down, and the outside of her body was covered with red feathers. At this time, she was in a human beast form, but the difference between Blaziken's beast form and this form was not particularly obvious, and partially exposed skin was the only characteristic. But in that case, no one can recognize her original identity, and it's not as if there weren't people with dark skin. Well, now you both have ability. Since you think you won't lose if you fight one-on-one, then try again. Hearing Arceus' words, Queen's forehead broke out into cold sweat. Just now, he was only acting stubborn as he didn't want to admit defeat. Shayna or King, who had no ability, were already very difficult to deal with. Now Shayna has suddenly obtained an ability, and it looks similar to Mythical Zoan's ability, then fight what? Looking at Shayna, who was getting restless, Queen put his hope on Kaido. Forget it, everyone will be on the same side from now on. Fighting and killing will just harm the peace, don't you think so, Boss Kaido? He hoped Kaido would stop them, but he didn't get an answer. So, he looked towards Kaido, and found that his face was red and his eyes were wandering around as if he had seen some great treasure. The wine jar in his hand had fallen to the ground at some point and shattered. This was followed by a burst of uncontrollable laughter. The turbulent sea is bound to become more interesting because of this, Kaido thought. Creating ability users out of thin air, compared to feeling shocked at the emergence of this power, he feels that the changes brought about by this power are the most important. Amazing, such a perfect power. Queen, you are joining my pirate crew, right? Yeah, Boss Kaido. That's why it's not good to fight among ourselves. No, this is the best way to show your worth. As the captain, my first order for you is to fight her again, and this time it would be one-on-one. He wanted to see what this ability was. He was just a spectator to the fight just now, so if they fight again, he would be able to better perceive the changes. Ah. Queen was confused about Kaido's request. At this moment, he has an illusion that he had stepped on the wrong boat. His mood was very complicated right now. He does not have Lunarian's bloodline, and neither does he worship Arceus. And he also doesn't have Kaido's psychological qualities. Seeing an ability user appear out of thin air, he was just excited as it was too magical. Magical enough to break his common sense of all these years. And the next few minutes could be said to be the darkest few minutes of Queen's life. Shayna, who got Blaziken's ability, has completely changed. Her physique greatly improved, especially the strength of her legs, which has increased by who knows how much times. Blaziken can easily jump to a height of 30 floors with its leg strength. When this strength is converted into kicks, even zone users will find it difficult to block, not to mention that the temperature of the flame attached to them is countless times higher than before. After a few rounds, Queen lay down flat on the ground as he simply chose to admit defeat. While Arceus on the side was full of disgust at Kaido. A burly man several meters tall showing such a creepy expression, he could feel goosebumps all over his body. Is this the ability you speak of? Yes, you find the plates for me, and I can impart similar abilities to the people you choose. By the way, the more plates, the stronger my ability, and the stronger the abilities I can create. As for whether someone will betray him or not, since he was the one who imparted the ability, he naturally has a way to take it back. It is completely impossible to use his abilities to deal with him. No problem, where are those plates? I can't wait, let's go find them now. If I knew where those plates went, would I still need to make this deal with you? I just need more people to inquire about their news, and I can sense the plates if they are near me. By the way, do you have a devil fruit? I also want to try other things to see if I can transform ordinary zone abilities into mythical zone, so that the ability can be preserved for a long time while you slowly look for a suitable person. Quote. He did not say that direct transformation is too strenuous, but changed the reason. As for why Zoan-type fruit, it is because Zone fruit has specific features. They can not only impart abilities to inanimate objects, but also have their own unique will. It would probably be more strenuous to transform fruits of other types than to directly impart abilities to people. No, they are very rare, but I am thinking of creating a zone user's army, so I'm going to look for them slowly. As they were talking, a plump black-purple fruit rolled over to their feet. Attempting with Aerodactyl. Of exotic breed and somewhat similar to dragon fruit, it seemed to be covered with batwing-like branches and leaves as it stopped at Arceus's feet. This thing is devil fruit, right? Arceus was bewildered at its grotesque patterns. This was the first time he was seeing this thing. It was supposed to be a devil fruit, but he couldn't comprehend how it appeared. Known as the rare treasure of the sea, its market value is estimated to be at least 100 million berry according to future price, and even the current price is an astronomical figure. And if the ability of a fruit is known, it will only be more expensive. 1 second ago Kaido was saying that it is a rare thing, the next second it rolled over to him. This situation was so magical that he was a little confused. Standing beside them, Queen looked at the fruit that had rolled over and was confused. After being completely crushed by Shayna, he was somewhat in a bad mood, but he could say nothing, so he vented his anger on the things on the roadside. There just happened to be a box of apples placed next to him, and an ordinary wooden box naturally couldn't withstand his kick. Among the apples that rolled out, there was this fruit. Kaido bent over to pick up the fruit. He feels that he hasn't sobered up yet. The way this fruit has appeared is quite magical, but it doesn't matter. Something like devil fruit, there was no reason to not take it. As for why Arceus didn't pick it up, because he doesn't have hands and he cannot use telekinesis, and he refuses to pick it up with his mouth. According to his estimate, he can solve this problem after he has a few more plates. And if it won't work, he will just go and look for human fruit. Worororo, no matter what one say my luck is really good, but I wonder what type of fruit of it is. I've read the Devil's Picture book in the Research Institute. Looking at its patterns, it should be dragon fruit ancient zone Pteranodon form. Queen thought for a moment, and then took out a rubbing from somewhere to compare it. There are no devil fruits with the same abilities. Only when the previous user of a fruit dies, then that fruit will randomly appear somewhere in the world. Many of the abilities that have appeared in the past have been recorded in the picture book. Previously, MADS research also included devil fruits. The members of MADS were from all over the world, and there is no lack of people with broad fields of knowledge among them. So, they naturally had an picture book, which is the rubbing drawn by Queen. Is it an ancient type, or a flying type? It looks quite rare. Muhaha, a kick caused a devil fruit to appear, as expected of me. No one knows how many devil fruits there are, but Zoan-type fruits have the most subclasses. Mythical Zoan, which is claimed to be rarer than Legia-type, and Ancient Zoan which is rarely seen across the world, are all rare types of fruit. Among these fruits, those with flying abilities are even rarer. Not all powerful people can fly. Even a special skill such as Rokushiki Geppo, only a few people know. The sea occupies most of the area in this world, and mastering the ability to fly almost means occupying the advantage of the venue. In the sea, destroying the opponent's ship is enough to cause devastation to many ability users. Therefore, in naval battles, the main goal of some ability users is to protect their ships. Just now Arceus said he needed devil fruit, and a devil fruit soon appeared. Kaido turned to look at Arceus beside him. Now that there is a fruit, what do you want to do? Of course, it's modification. Ancient Zoan's Pteranodon, right. I am going to try an idea of mine. This time, it would no longer be a single plate, but 2 plates. He is not going to use the power of attributes, but the pure power of creation contained in the plates. Shayna's Blaziken is the result of the evolution after he controlled his own power to apply an attribute, and now he wants to try if he does not guide and apply an attribute and just simply mutate it, what will happen. In the fruit, he even sensed a special will, but facing Arceus' powerful pressure, it quickly chose to surrender. Kaido saw as the devil fruit in his hand changed and a grayish-white color covered the fruit's surface. It is much easier. Random mutation is indeed much easier than fixed mutation, but such mutation seems to be determined by the type of fruit itself. There are not enough parameters, so I still have to try many things. Closing square bracket. Thinking this, he said to Kaido, it's successful, but I still want to make some more attempts. One fruit is not enough. Albert, eat this fruit. Shayna already has ability. Queen and Kaido are ability users themselves. The original characteristics of the devil fruit he transformed still exist. You can only eat one and after eating it, you will be powerless when encountering seawater, and completely turn into someone who cannot swim. But for the Lunarians who can fly, it doesn't matter whether they can swim or not. Do you want to eat it? This thing is very unpalatable. Its taste is something that you will not be able to forget for your whole life. It is even more unpalatable than feces. Queen whispered in King's ear. After King ate the fruit, he was afraid that King would be able to defeat him. So, he could only try to deter him verbally, but Shayna didn't let him. Really? So you've eaten that thing? What are you talking about? I am an ability user, didn't you see it? No, I mean you've eaten feces, so that's how you know it tastes worse than feces. It's well known in the sea. Don't you know anything? You bastard. Queen didn't know who said it, and how they made the comparison, but the rumors about devil fruits have always been such. He couldn't allow Shayna to put this accusation on him. Mr. Kaido is also an ability user, why didn't he say such a thing? It means you really have tried it. Quote. Powerless and furious, these can perfectly describe Queen's current state. Neither could he outspeak her, not defeat her. Because of her experience in the Research Institute, Shayna felt hatred for everyone from the Research Institute. It couldn't be counteracted by beating. It wasn't easy for Arceus to judge whether Shayna has a poisonous tongue attribute or she is specifically targeting Queen. However, their behavior did not affect King's movements. He took the fruit and ate it without hesitation, moreover he ate it in one whole bite. You are really a resolute person. One bite of it was enough. Just by taking the first bite, you would have gained the ability, and the rest is just trash. King didn't pay attention to Queen, instead he placed his attention on the huge changes that his body had undergone. His skin has turned ash gray, and his entire body had transformed into a huge pterosaur. Although it was still a pterosaur, Queen was sure that it was not Pteranodon as there were sharp teeth in its mouth and its stone-like skin was different from Pteranodon. King's ability is now called Aerodactyl. Unlucky Queen. That's not what a Pteranodon looks like. As a scientist, Queen is quite knowledgeable. Human modification and viruses are his main specialization, and biology is an indispensable part when it comes to these fields. Not to mention pterosaur fossils, even living pterosaurs can be found on some ancient islands. Pteranodon does not have a thick tail like king, and the width of the lower jaw and upper jaw is far greater than the mouth shape of the pterosaur. It's just that these wings are a bit of a waste. You Lunarians are able to fly, right? That stinky girl's flame temperature increased by a lot, what about you? Queen seems to have recovered his energy, or he didn't fight seriously just now. With unknown body modifications, plus the recovery ability of Ancient Zoan, he has surely almost recovered. Those who do research have great curiosity, but after speaking, he suddenly regretted it. At this time, King was in a complete beast form. Aerodactyl's size had enlarged a bit and he was also flying in the air. When Queen questioned his ability, King's eyes shone with a dangerous glint, and a smile had even appeared at the corners of his mouth. Hey, you shouldn't. Queen swallowed, and the next moment, King fluttered his wings, and 4 boulders the size of houses appeared out of thin air before burying Queen down below. But this weight was still something that Queen could withstand. After some struggle, Queen climbed out while covered in dirt. It seems today he has suffered quite a lot. Isn't this guy a pterosaur? How could a pterosaur use stone ability? Transforming into Mythical Zoan makes more sense. Are you an idiot? Mythical Zoan are called mythical because of their unreasonable abilities. Queen didn't speak. Looking at the boulders that had appeared out of thin air, he fell into deep self-doubt. The two were not even ability users a few minutes ago. Although Ancient Zoan are not as powerful as Mythical Zoan, it is also a rare Zoan type, and their growth rate is also not small, but after so long, he watched 2 people turn into Mythical Zoan user. Who would despise more abilities? In any case, they would turn into people who cannot swim. Of course, the stronger the ability, the better. Sometimes people like to hug together to keep warm. So, Queen naturally looked towards Kaido, who he thought was not an ability user. Then, he learned that Kaido is also a Mythical Zoan user. Kaido didn't mention that the source of King and Shayna's abilities is Arceus, but Shayna has always addressed Arceus as Lord Sacred Beast. He knows about everything that was in the research institute. The only thing sent with the 2 Lunarians was the strange egg and the 2 plates. He didn't believe that alpaca or horse could pop out of the stone. He can't tell the species of Arceus, but maybe it was hatched from that egg. While Queen was sizing up Arceus, Arceus was also looking at Queen. He had tried bestowing abilities to non-ability users, and he had also tried the random mutation of Devil Fruit. And if he wants to try other modifications, he needs to look for a few more Devil Fruits. At this time, he still wanted to try the result of modifying an ability user and there are ready-made ability users here. He can forget about Kaido. Arceus can determine that the stronger the body, the more energy-consuming it is, and modifying Kaido is too difficult. While Queen isn't too strong compared to Shayna when she didn't have any ability, so it is not bad to use him as a test subject. It's just that Queen is not like King and Shayna. He has an established relationship with them due to their race. Although Arceus is still not sure about the direction of modification, it is definitely useful and harmless. In order to strengthen Shayna and King, he had better find the plates. And while doing that, he can also let Kaido see the benefits he may obtain. It was no problem strengthening Queen, but he felt there should be more value that can be extracted from this fatty. For example, this guy is from the Research Institute, so he should know the location of a few plates. Arceus released the plates from his body and floated them in front of Kaido and Queen separately. There are 16 pieces of such plates, which is part of my power. Arceus in some games does not have a normal type plate, because Arceus without a plate is a normal type Pokémon. But when he became Arceus, normal type also became a part of his power, and each plate represents an immunity to attribute attack. In reality, there was no restriction of carrying only one plate. When he retrieves all the plates, whether his attacks can have additional effects or not, he can be invincible first. Kaido, I'll emphasize it once again, these are the things I need. Bring them to me, or bring me information about their location, and I'll reward you with abilities of Mythical Zoan. That will be the deal between us. Any questions? Worororo, no problem, then the alliance between you and me is official. It's time to have a banquet. Banquets in pirate culture, there is a banquet when an alliance is formed, there is a banquet for a happy occasion, and there is a banquet for no reason. Even the Rocks pirates had this influence. Every pirate basically always wants to hold a banquet, but no matter how you look at it, this deserted town is not suitable to hold a banquet. It turns out that Kaido didn't turn stupid and knew that this place was not suitable for banquet. Of course, the most important thing is that even though he likes to hold banquets, he doesn't like to organize banquets by himself. There are only so few people under his command, so nothing can be done. Let's talk about the banquet another time, but we should still drink brothers' sake cups or something. When one pirate crew decides to join another pirate crew, both parties will drink the parent-child sake cups, but when two people with similar strength choose to form an alliance, they will take similar actions to express their sincerity. Although it is only for preserving dignity, they always keep this tradition. They found a few containers, 2 big and 3 small, from the mochi and red bean soup shop where Queen was just now, and Kaido announced the establishment of his pirate crew Beasts Pirates. Arceus didn't join the Beasts Pirates, but he planned to use their name to search for plates in the future. To avoid unnecessary troubles, he does not want to appear in front before obtaining the powers of most of the plates. Currently only the few people in front of him know that he has hatched from a mysterious giant egg. If this news reached the world government, it may cause a lot of trouble. It is worth mentioning that the one who held Arceus' sake cup was Shayna. After the core of Beasts Pirates was established again, Kaido began to scrutinize Arceus' plates carefully. As if he recalled something, Arceus did not disturb Kaido and turned to look at Queen. That's my dear senior, but I can do it if you pay me more. You also used to be a member of that research institute, you should know where those plates came from, right? I know, one of them was sent over with these 2 guys, and the other was sent over by world government after Vegapunk reached a cooperation with the government. I don't know the details, but it should have been obtained from Lunarian's race. The information is completely correct. The flame plate was originally lent to the Lunarian's clan elder. It is not surprising that it fell into the hands of the government after he was defeated. And normal type blank plate has always been carried by Shayna. Does the government have other plates? How could I know this kind of thing? Before this, I didn't even know there were so many of these things, but from the words of those people, they seem to think that there are more than 2 plates of this kind, and other plates should be in the hands of the world government. Queen is not too sure. After all, this is just his speculation, but Arceus thinks there is nothing wrong with his speculation. A plate that was lost on the way when Lunarians were fleeing, it is not surprising that it also fell into the hands of the world government. They seem to have studied these plates, but the only thing they found is that the plates were indestructible. They believe that there is a lot of power contained in them, and it can unconsciously affect the surrounding environment. Those people had Vegapunk try to control the power in the plates, but he had no clue. Quote. This is a normal thing. Arceus is the only owner of the plates. The plates may unconsciously affect the surrounding environment, but without his orders, no one can use the power of the plates. Oh, by the way, someone in the research institute also tried to create a device to search the plates, but this proposal was eventually abandoned. During the research, those plates were just like ordinary stones and there were no special components inside. Based on the same principle as a metal detector, that person believed that the plates contain a special component. As long as an instrument for analyzing this component is manufactured, these plates can be found on a large scale. But the problem is, the plates have never dropped any residues, so there was no possibility of implementing it. They cannot be destroyed or analyzed. Some people suggested using it to make armor, but it was rejected. According to previous events, the Lunarians may have some special connection with the plates, so the flame plate was sent to this place for testing. I remember, I saw a similar thing when I was on Rock's ship. Human potential can be stimulated under special circumstances. Originally, Kaido didn't have much of an impression of this plate, but the ability to create Mythical Zoan aroused his interest. The skill is exclusive to Arceus, so he naturally had to think of a way to find those plates. Through recalling his memories, he finally remembered why he found them familiar. Back then, there were a lot of treasures in the treasury of the Rock's pirates, and gold and silver were just the most common things among them. Devil fruit, rare minerals, they were the things Rocks looted from all over the world, including from those celestial dragons, and among them, there was a plate like this buried at the bottom of a chest. Rocks. Rocks D. Zebek, the pirate crew I was in before. Rocks was a real monster, and he had the ambition to become the king of the world, but 5 years ago in God Valley, the war completely destroyed the Rocks pirates, and the leftover people went their separate ways. Rocks pirates, the true overlord of the sea, whether it was the captain or the crew, they were all famous characters. The young Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin, and Kaido were all members of the crew. And Kaido could only be considered as an apprentice on the ship. However, unlike the adventurers who gathered together because of their dreams, it was a violent group that forcibly united on the premise of Rock's absolute strength. The people on the ship had their own intentions, and when they saw that the situation was not good, they naturally went their separate ways. It has been 5 years since the Battle of God Valley ended, and Rox has been erased from the world and history by the world government because of his heinous crimes, and it is forbidden to publicize and talk about this person. But the time is too short, and there are still many people who know Rox. He will only gradually get forgotten in a few years. What's more, Kaido is someone who experienced this incident. He wouldn't listen to the government's words, so he has no scruples when talking about Rox. Of course, his experience on Rox's ship was not important, so he omitted it. Since the Rox pirates are gone, where did that plate go? Is it in God Valley? No, the so-called God Valley has long since disappeared from the sea, and there is nothing there. As I said, the people on the ship had their own intentions, some died, some were arrested, but many people were able to flee from there. The person on the ship who likes the treasures most is John. If there was no accident, everything on the ship should have been taken away by John. Quote. Then where is he now? I don't know, however it won't be difficult to find his position. But even if he is found, with his personality that values treasures, it is impossible to take it away from him. I'm afraid we will have to fight. But he was my former ship's senior, so it's not very convenient to attack him. Quote. Why? When did pirates become so moral? Didn't you say that the crew of Rox gathered together because of their interests, and that infighting was commonplace? It's true that Kaido is good to his own people and has a high tolerance towards them, but the premise is that they have enough strength to be valued by Kaido. Arceus is obviously the one Kaido values most and wants to recruit the most since has the ability that Kaido yearns for. But he doesn't believe that Kaido has any fond memories about John. I don't have a good relationship with him. I mean, that guy is hard to deal with. Although it won't be too difficult to find him, it will take a lot of time and extra money. 5 years ago, he was living the life of an apprentice of the Rox pirates, but now it is different. 5 years later, he is no longer the same as before. He doesn't owe John anything, so he is naturally going to maximize John's value. Kaido didn't request for anything more, but he eagerly suggested that he get paid the reward in advance this time. It's not impossible, Queen, come here. He originally wanted to use Queen for trying out more of his abilities, so he will just let Kaido have a little taste of more benefits, and besides, there is no one else around except Queen. The same power poured into Queen, consuming less energy than Shayna and more than King, and was in the middle position. Queen is a ruthless person who can carry out strange transformations on himself. So, he didn't resist it, but when he used his ability afterwards, he found a bunch of bananas growing out of his chin. How does it feel to eat your own banana? Queen did not directly enter the beast form, but chose the human beast form. His main body was still Brachiosaurus, but he felt that there was something on his chin, and grabbed it with a strong grip. According to his observation, this is a banana no matter how he sees it. In addition, his upper shoulders and the top of his head was covered by green leaves, and 4 huge banana leaves were also extending out from his back. The moment devil fruit is eaten, the eater will obtain its most basic ability. Although the extent to which they can develop it later on depends on themselves, the fruit's ability becomes a part of their body at that moment. Among the different types of devil fruit, Paramecia-type is undoubtedly the most common. Relatively speaking, using ordinary Zoan type is much simpler, and it does not take too long to master the 3 stages of transformation. Mythical Zoan type have to gradually explore their abilities. Compared with Shayna's high-temperature flames and jumping power, and King's ability to create rocks, the banana on his chin was quite weird. But the power coming from his body told him that this was not the case. He flapped the wide banana leaves behind him, and he found himself flying. This is unscientific. How can these banana leaves move such a huge body? Is this the ability of a mythical zone? It seems that I can consider a lot more things when doing my modifications. Swinging the tail on his back, Queen pondered many things. Tropius does not have a tail. The tail behind the Queen was retained from Brachiosaurus, fruit. This time, Arceus' transformation was not a complete replacement. He used a small portion of energy to arouse the power of the original Brachiosaurus, fruit within Queen's body, allowing it to undergo random mutation. Although Queen's Brachiosaurus turned into Tropius, before the transformation was completed, Arceus was not sure what form Brachiosaurus would transform into. However, this mutation is definitely based on the body structure of Brachiosaurus. Meganium or Ouroboros may have also been possible. The reason why he could have turned into Tropius may be because Queen likes sweets and has a heart that wants to fly. Shayna, king, and queen are three different types of individuals. Although he successfully granted them abilities, there are too few examples for reference, so he cannot determine what the conditions for the changes are. Although it's his own ability, it does not mean that he fully knows how it works, just like judgment is engraved in his mind as his exclusive skill. Using judgment is just like eating and drinking, it is instinctive. But he doesn't know every step of how judgment works. Arceus is called the god of creation, but God is just a range of power, and isn't an all-knowing and omnipotent existence. For example, can God create a rock that he cannot lift? There is a saying that he could not lift the rock before creation, but he can lift it after creation. Arguing and arguing will not lead to a real result. When he modifies a few more targets, with them as a reference, the theory will naturally become clear. Moreover, looking at Queen flying in the sky, Arceus had a new idea. Before he regains the ability to fly, he can make Queen his special mount. Among the five of them, only he cannot fly. Shayna is a girl, and King isn't big enough. Even if he transforms into a pterosaur, he can't move while carrying him. As for Kaido, although he can create a cloud of flames to take everyone flying, he is now the captain, even though they don't have a ship yet. The Governor-General of Beasts Pirates can't be a horse carriage every day. Queen's Brachiosaurus transformed into Tropius is big enough to carry everyone on its back except Kaido. And besides Kaido, it can be seen that both Shayna and King have a problem with him. Who let him be one of the members of that institute in the first place? If it wasn't for the fact that his main research project had nothing to do with the Lunarians, I'm afraid it would not be over with just a beating. To say it inappropriately, if one keeps a pet for a long time, you would definitely feel attachment to them, not to mention humans. Shayna and King may be the last Lunarians on the sea, so Arceus can't say that he has much goodwill towards Queen. It really wouldn't be fitting to not squeeze such a labor force. Queen, who is thinking about his body modification plans in the sky, didn't know that he was being labeled as a royal mount. After easily adjusting to his new body, Queen landed on the ground. But as he cancelled his ability, the banana in his hand did not disappear. He had also tried a few things in the sky just now. Although the bananas on his chin could be picked off, they were extremely strong. If he had no intention of picking them off, those bananas would be as solid as a part of his body. There are a total of 3 bananas, and they didn't regenerate after being plucked. First of all, the things made by devil fruit are edible, the food transformed by Striason's cook fruit, the biscuits made by Cracker's bis fruit, and even the cabbage drawn by Conjuro's brush fruit are all edible. But those are all paramecia type, and the part eaten is not a part of one's own body, but something created. Paramecia type devil fruit can actually be divided into several categories, which can be roughly divided into 3 types: superhuman, superpower and creation. Superpower refers to the ability users who have various magical powers such as slowing down, vibration, etc., but these have nothing to do with food. Superpowers and creation sometimes have overlapping parts, such as cook fruit, which can be said to create new food, or it uses superpower to turn inedible things into food. But creation refers to the ability users who can create various things out of thin air. The food made by this category of paramecia-type fruit is naturally edible. Biscuits, mochi, cream, they have nothing to do with the body. The superhumans simply change their body structure. For example, Gaspard's candy fruit, although his body can transform into candy syrup, it cannot make candy, and the taste is also unpalatable. This has been personally verified by Luffy in an anime movie. And Zoan type undoubtedly belongs to the category of superhuman body. The body of Zoan can bear fruit, which is really too magical. Looking at the banana in his hand, Queen reached a decision, pulled off the banana peel, and then threw the banana into his mouth. Soon after, he showed an expression of enjoyment. Sweet, soft and sticky, this is the best banana he has ever eaten. He is from the sweet faction, otherwise he would not be in love with such sweet and greasy food like mochi and red bean soup. But from this banana, he experienced a unique sweetness, which seemed to bring together the sweetness of all the fruits. Comparing the taste of the banana, he found it is comparable to mochi and red bean soup. After that, he used his ability again and plucked off the remaining 2 bananas. How can pirates have no ships? Queen's Brachiosaurus transformed Tropius was even bigger, which caused the bananas to be even bigger, but to those who eat in buckets, the 3 bananas were just enough to tickle the cravings in their stomachs. The first thing that Queen did to develop new abilities was nothing else but to study how to grow the bananas. But after several unsuccessful attempts, he had no choice but to turn to look at Arceus. He obtained this ability from him, so he must know something. Queen moved closer, with a fawning smile on his face. Body modification is one of his favorite things, and in this regard, Arceus' ability has reached the peak. Bestowing these kinds of abilities is tantamount to the modification directly at the genetic level. If he can thoroughly study this power, he will definitely become the most talented person in this field. Not to mention the extremely sweet magical bananas. Hey, you must know how to produce bananas with this ability, right? And how did you accomplish this modification? You, show some respect to Lord Sacred Beast. Queen, who had moved closer, was faced with Shayna's hands wrapped in flames. It would definitely be a dereliction of her duty if she let this stupid fatty move closer. After obtaining the new ability, Shayna hadn't cancelled her ability, instead she has been keeping this form all this time. In the human beast state, Blaziken's head has turned into a mask and she likes the crimson mask that hides her face. She and King are destined to be unable to show their true identity for a long time in the future, so she has kept maintaining this state. Except for exposing a small part of her chin, her hands and feet were wrapped in special bandage-like objects, and the black wings on her back have also turned into crimson wings. Lunarians possess powerful constitution and excellent endurance, especially Shayna, whose ability has been strengthened. So, just maintaining this state is not exhausting for her. Her ability comes entirely from Arceus' power. Although it is similar to Devil Fruit, it is essentially different, and it consumes much less stamina to maintain this state. King was also using his ability, but Aerodactyl is different from Blaziken and does not have a mask, so his head was completely that of a pterosaur. This is also one of the differences brought about by Arceus' ability. Human beast form's characteristic features of bird-type Zoan Fruit is different from other zones as it transforms their head, but retains the limbs. Human beast form of bird type, and pterosaur-type Zoan Fruit, transforms the wings, which will fuse with the arms, while retaining the appearance of the feet and head. And when King's Pteranodon turned into Aerodactyl, his human beast form also changed, his hands were retained, his head transformed into a pterosaur's head, and the black wings on his back turned into the wing membrane of a pterosaur. Moreover, there are two small hands on the wings. In this form, he can barely be regarded as having 4 hands. However, his mask is still worse than Shayna's, and he feels he will have to change into a hooded suit in the future. Although King's ability is from a fruit which has been modified, the energy consumption is still lower than that of an ordinary Zoan fruit. King and Shayna can't feel this difference, but Queen, who is an ability user, can perceive this change. After becoming Tropius, his normal energy consumption is much lower than that of Brachiosaurus. Awakened Zoan can have a steady stream of stamina. Although his ability after transformation is not awakened, it can be counted as being greatly strengthened. To be honest, he was quite happy that Arceus has such a powerful ability. Since he freed Kaido and indirectly led to the destruction of the Research Institute, he has no way of turning back. Only the few of them know about this matter now. If something happens to the Beast's pirates in the future, and he told the world government about it, he may be completely obliterated. He doesn't know what the specific policy of the world government is, but in the sea, they are slightly unrestrained and shift a contradictory train of thought. Those who violate the world government's taboos will be completely destroyed by the world government. In order to eliminate rocks, Marines even joined forces with pirates, and this has happened more than once. There is no one who wouldn't get tempted by Arceus's ability. If somehow he falls into the hands of the world government, and the world government learned his identity, plus the matter of the Lunarians, it may be an extravagant hope to be even sent to impel down. So now he naturally hopes that Beast's pirates will become as strong as possible. Whether it is to facilitate his future research or other things, this is the best result. Although Queen is not from Lunarian's race, he and Lunarians are now on the same side. So he wants to know how to produce bananas. He doesn't believe that these bananas are a single-use item. Being blocked by Shayna, he just changed his tact. Lord Sacred Beast, can you tell me how to use this ability to produce the bananas? Isn't it just changing the form of a dress? He doesn't care about this kind of thing. Looking at Kaido's excitement just now as if he was about to become sworn brother with Arceus, it doesn't matter if he changes his form of a dress. Eat more fruits and the bananas will absorb the sugar from the fruits you eat. Normally, you can only produce fruit twice a year, and even if you ate many fruits, it will only increase the sweetness of fruits produced next time. After becoming Arceus, he has many memories about Pokémons in his mind. including their types, characteristics, abilities, preferences, habits, etc. And Tropius' banana growth cycle is also included in it. Twice a year, Queen felt like being struck by lightning as he heard this answer. It is simply a hell to wait for such delicious fruits for half a year. He shouldn't have eaten all of them. If he had known earlier, he would have tried planting them. At this time, he has made up his mind to find a tropical island to grow bananas when the next fruit comes out. Of course, that's all for later, the issue now is that it's time for them to leave. Since there is a news about the plate, he has no interest in waiting any longer. Kaido. Stop drinking, and let's quickly look for John. Worororo, you're really impatient. Indeed, it's time to set out to sea. Queen, where is the ship you prepared? There, let's go, but it may be a little crowded. Queen did prepare a ship, but he only prepared it by keeping himself and Kaido in mind. As there is no dock here, although Queen has good technical skills, he is not Doraemon, who can take out a ship directly. So, it was just a large fishing boat, but with a modified engine. After adding King, Shayna, and Arceus, the ship has no extra space, and even turning it around would be inconvenient. Don't you all know how to fly? Why are we crammed into this little boat? In Arceus' view, the simplest way is for Kaido to raise a flame cloud and take everyone away. But, he didn't think that after seeing the small boat, Kaido would excitedly rush towards it and climb up. Compared with Luffy's small boat and wooden barrel, and Blackbeard's raft, this fishing boat with an engine is indeed a lot more advanced, but its speed is definitely not as fast as flying. This is the first voyage of Beast's pirates. How could it be without a ship? There will definitely be a big ship in the future, but for now, let's set out. Worororo. Kaido's call. Why? I'm the one who prepared this boat, why should I go out and scout? You guys can fly much faster than me. On the sea, Queen in the form of Tropius was flying beside the boat. He had been sent to scout the surrounding sea area, about which he clearly has a lot of complaints. Mr. Kaido is the captain, Lord Sacred Beast can't fly, and I have to take care of Lord Sacred Beast, who else will go if not you? Isn't there still that guy called King? How much space does he take, and how much space do you take? Besides, King also has to steer the boat. Also, don't you think it has become more spacious in the boat since you are flying? If you had prepared a larger boat, it wouldn't have happened. Queen did not leave the side of the boat, while Shayna kept criticizing Queen. And didn't you just say that you want to try your new abilities? It's such a great opportunity, go ahead. Regarding the dispute between Shayna and Queen, Kaido did not intend to intervene at all. In his view, this kind of thing is normal, and he has no choice but to admit that of all the people present, Queen occupies the largest area. After he flew up, the boat not only became much more spacious, but its speed also increased. Queen waved the leaf-like wings on his back and flew higher into the sky. He wanted to learn everything about his new body as soon as possible. Therefore, from the boat below, attacks could be seen falling from the sky from time to time. Speaking of which, where exactly is this place? Looking at the endless sea, Arceus really wanted to figure out which sea region this is. 4 seas are Grand Line, and if it is Grand Line, is it the first half or the second half? At this time, Roger has not yet become the Pirate King, but there are still many powerful people that can be found everywhere in the sea, and the enemies encountered in different sea regions are also different, so it is necessary to pay attention. With the strength of the people in the small boat, as long as they are not in the New World, they can basically go anywhere unhindered. Sorry, Lord Sacred Beast, we don't know where this is. We were near the Sabayati archipelago before we were captured, but we don't know the location of that laboratory. That research institute was on the Red Line and we came directly from the Red Line. This place is South Blue, and the direction we are heading now is towards the Calm Belt. Queen flew around and then landed back, and told Arceus what he wanted to know. Grand Line and Red Line divide this world into 4 parts just like longitude and latitude. On both sides of the Grand Line, there are vast calm belts, and below them are the lairs of giant creatures like sea kings, who are the greatest threat for ships in the sea. There is only one way for ordinary pirates to enter the Grand Line, and that is to rush up the unreasonable currents of the Reverse Mountain. For groups like them who can fly, Reverse Mountain is no longer a necessary option, and crossing Calm Belt is much more convenient for them. This is also one of the ways to leave the Grand Line. Reverse Mountain is a one-way path, and there are no underwater caves below like Fishman Island. So, neither entering or leaving the Grand Line is easy. Ordinary people can use Mariajoy to reach any location in the world by land if they have money, but this requires changing ships, and pirates are not eligible for this. For the pirates who want to leave Grand Line and return to the Four Seas, they must either abandon their ship, climb up the reverse mountain, avoid the eyes and ears of world government and take the opportunity to return to the Four Seas, or cross the Calm Belt. They are not guaranteed to die in the Calm Belt. As long as their ship has other power source and they are lucky enough to avoid areas where sea kings gather, they can still return safely. World government and marines let those troublesome pirates enter Grand Line, and did not set up fortresses at Reverse Mountain and Sabayati Archipelago to stop them. Maybe it is also because of this. Compared with the vast Four Seas, the area of Grand Line is much smaller. Although there are more powerful people here, the cornerstone of the world government and the providers of much tax revenues are civilians, and the number of civilians in Four Seas far exceeds the number in Grand Line. It would be better if those troublemakers leave, so they can better concentrate their forces on dealing with them. This may be one of the reasons, and ultimately, it is the problem of the world government to make such a choice. But what world government wants to do has nothing to do with Arceus. Also at this moment, he realized something. The one who was giving directions was Queen and not Kaido. Kaido, what's going on? Don't tell me Queen knows where John is. Ever since Kaido said he saw the plate in Rock's Pirate's treasure vault, he just wanted to find John quickly. It doesn't matter even if Kaido can't defeat John, as long as he arrives within some distance from the plate, he can let the plate return to its original place by itself. The lack of strength was really very inconvenient for him. He can't even scratch his back if he wanted to. Moreover, the special ring around his waist is called Thousand Arms, which is also a part of his power. After all, it is said in the legends that Arceus is a creature with 1,000 hands. The good news is that Thousand Arms currently doesn't affect his movements. While it looks solid as hell, it is actually controllable. Like when he wants to lay down, Thousand Arms will soften and won't cause him to get stuck. It takes about 4 plates to activate the power of Thousand Arms. This number can almost allow him to master the power of modification and flight. Of course, it would be better if he can find Mind Plate directly. There is a 1 in 16th possibility that the plate in Captain John's treasure is the magical plate of psychic type, and he has already paid the salary for the plate in advance. Of course, Queen doesn't know. Didn't I say that I don't know where he is now? We need to recruit some people first, otherwise we have to do too many things by ourselves, and don't worry, with that guy's personality, he won't stay in Four Seas. At that time, because of an opportunity to earn a fortune, those guys had gathered together to form a crew, and I can be sure of 2 things. One is that the legendary treasure has not been found yet, and that thing must be in Grand Line. John, that guy is greedy for money, there is no way he would let it go. Quote. As if to prove his point, Kaido said to Queen, Queen, get me Den Den Mushi. After receiving Den Den Mushi from Queen, Kaido dialed a number. Purururu, Purururu. After a loud noise, Den Den Mushi's appearance changed into another one and a female voice came out of it. Well, Kaido, it's really rare for you to call me. I haven't heard from you in so many years, I thought you also died in God Valley. Stop joking, Linlin, there is no way I would have died in that place, I just want to ask you a question. You should know where that John ran off to, right? Charlotte Linlin, Big Mom, Kaido's old acquaintance, was also a member of the now-defunct Rock's Pirates. When Kaido was still an apprentice on the ship, Charlotte Linlin was already an official crew member. And when Kaido had stepped aboard the ship, she warned him about Rock's not being trustworthy, and that he can look for her if he needs something. She regards Kaido as her younger brother, and on the day when Rock's Pirates was destroyed, she gave the fish fruit Mythical Zoan model Azure Dragon to Kaido. It can be said that Kaido was able to leave God Valley thanks to the devil fruit given by Charlotte Linlin, so Charlotte Linlin has always said that Kaido owes her a big favor. Now it has been 5 years since Rox, the overlord of the sea, died. Gall D. Roger has not yet become the Pirate King. There is no concept of Pirate King and Emperor of the Sea in the sea yet, but there are still many powerful pirates. They regard some islands as their territory, develop their own strength, and become the emperor of an area. Among these pirates, the powerful pirates of New World have the most status. Charlotte Linlin is such a person, she now has her own territory in New World, and she is more proficient in gathering a large amount of information than Kaido. John. Why are you looking for him? At this time, Charlotte Linlin's pirate crew is on an island full of fruits. Her chef was making fruit and vegetable cakes, while she was rubbing her bulging belly to nourish the fetus. Looking at the first four emperors, Whitebeard relied on adopting sons, Kaido opened a kindergarten, Shanks looked for comrades all over the world, while Big Mom found husbands from all over the world and was hard at work giving birth to a family. I think author here is talking about how the members in Kaido's crew are mainly much younger than him. The main members of the Big Mom pirates are also completely composed of her own sons and daughters, son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws. They have a very powerful family atmosphere. At this time, she was carrying the 40th child in her belly. She was quite happy when her little brother Kaido called suddenly, but she didn't expect that the moment he opened his mouth, he would inquire about John's whereabouts. You don't have to worry about it, I just want to know where John is. Huh. Kaido, is this how you act towards your benefactor? I told you not to keep holding on to this matter. Do you know John's whereabouts or not? Well, Kaido, you are still so impatient. There are rumors that he has a lot of treasures in his hands. Have you also taken a fancy to them? Do you want to join forces with me? We can share those treasures equally. John is not easy to deal with. Big Mom smiled indifferently on the other side of Den Den Mushi, but had already gestured to Perospero beside her. No need, I just want his whereabouts. You are really heartless. You were not like this back then. John appeared in Hashinosu not long ago, and then he went to paradise. There are many people in New World who are eyeing him. As for where he went next, I don't know. Looking at the information Perospero brought over, Big Mom said to Kaido. As soon as she finished speaking, Kaido disconnected Den Den Mushi. Looking at the Den Den Mushi in her hand, Charlotte Linlin revealed a displeased look on her face, but she quickly forgot about it when she smelled the aroma of the baked cake. She is not very interested in Captain John's treasure, mainly because the investment and profit is not directly proportional. She can already earn enough from her territory. John is a member of the Rock's ship after all. There was no weakling on that ship, and everyone who was able to board the ship has their special skills. To deal with John, her children are not strong enough, so she has to personally take action, but she is currently busy with birthing children. Combined with the erratic whereabouts of John, she only knew that John left New World for the first half. If Kaido finds the other party, she can help if the reward is right, but since Kaido has rejected her, there is no need to take the initiative to join him. Okay, it is now confirmed that John is not in the New World but in paradise. That woman's words are still trustworthy. Not only Marines were keeping an eye on the movements of those big pirates, other pirates were also doing it. Some of the pirates indeed go out to sea for adventure or are forced by life, but they are only in a very small number. And there may also be batards among the Marines, but most people still prefer to believe in Marines than pirates. Today, when there is no big rare treasure, the pirates who go out to sea do it more for wealth, i.e. for their own interests. Leaving after robbing is something that the lowest level small pirates do. Big pirates have their own fixed territory. For the residents in the territory, they will even act as a protective umbrella. Of course, they will collect protection fees. They are like another type of feudal lord. Few people do the stupid thing of killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. Rabbits also don't eat the grass beside their nests, so they don't rob the residents in their territory, at least the bigger and stronger pirates don't do that. Charlotte Linlin belongs to the cruel category among pirates. According to the normal timeline, Toto Land will use lifespan as rent in the future, but even then, there will still be a large number of ordinary people who would be willing to live in Toto Land. Ordinary people need protection, and Marines only protect the member nations of the world government. For those people outside the member nations who do not have enough strength, it is what they have to do to find a suitable protective umbrella. They need a safe land to live, and big pirates need that land to support themselves and their subordinates. In order to prevent others from robbing your territory, of course you must pay attention to the movements of those powerful pirates. Currently there are countless powerhouses in the sea, and Charlotte Linlin, Golden Lion Shiki, Whitebeard, Captain John, these former members of the Rock's pirates are undoubtedly the best among them. The greater the reputation, the more people around the world will be familiar with their personality and hobbies. For example, Captain John likes treasures and he has been pursuing wealth all his life. But trouble always finds people with treasures. At some point, rumors began to appear in the sea that Captain John possessed a lot of treasures, and more people began to eye the treasures in his hands. He wasn't invincible, there are too many people in New World who can threaten him, so after careful consideration, he decided to return to the first half of the Grand Line, which is the area called Paradise, and hide the treasures first, which is the safest. We will enter the Grand Line first, then recruit a group of people, and at the same time gradually inquire about John's whereabouts. The range you gave is too vague, so we can only search for it slowly. Kaido does not want to completely follow the elite route. He wants high-end combat power, and he also wants a large number of subordinates. He was a soldier of the Vodka Kingdom when he was young and knows that numbers are also needed in wars. But the people in Four Seas were too weak, so he decided to go directly to Grand Line to recruit subordinates. News COO. The efficiency of the power engine made by Queen is not low, but the power source is charged by pedals, and enough energy can only be accumulated after pedaling for a period of time. Although it is quite metaphysical, it is very reasonable. After all, even cola can be used as a power source in this world. If Newton heard this, he would definitely jump out of his coffin. Well, Tesla and their view may also be turned upside down. Arceus stepped on the pedal, mainly because he was bored and had nothing to do. Because, apart from the word boring, Arceus couldn't think of any suitable adjectives for their sailing days. He hasn't seen any island for several days, and all around him, except for seawater, there was just seawater. Even if he wants to fish in this situation, he can't do it. If it takes too long, he will just choose to enter hibernation. Kaido had drunk all the wine ever since he finished the phone call with Big Mom, and has no intention of getting up after sleeping for several days. While Queen, except when he is scouting the surroundings, was doing research on himself, i.e. mainly modifying his mechanical arms. King and Shayna sometimes sparred against each other, and sometimes they would look at the distant coastline aimlessly, their thoughts unknown. Queen, how long until we enter the calm belt? It will take about 7 more days, but we have to go to the nearby islands to resupply. Food is running out. Thanks to brother Kaido who has always been sleeping, otherwise it really wouldn't have been enough. Also, it would be best if we can change the ship. The food that Queen was mentioning mainly refers to fruits, vegetables and staple foods. There are too many fish and meat in this sea. Although Arceus can't fish, Queen has a way to fish. Ever since he ate Tropius's banana, Queen has been particularly craving fruits, and most of the fruit reserves on their ship had gone into his stomach. Arceus barely requires food, he can rely on the plates to absorb the free energy in the atmosphere to replenish his stamina. Eating and drinking water is more out of habit, or to satisfy some cravings. Kaido is not from an ordinary race either, not to mention how he has been sleeping deeply all this time. And it is not a joke that the Lunarians can survive in various environments. Even if there is only water, they can survive for countless times much longer than normal people. Queen is the most ordinary one on this ship, but he is a modified person. Diseases like scurvy that ordinary people have to worry about when they go to sea have basically nothing to do with them. For their small group, supplies are not too urgent, but who wants to be an ascetic when they can sail comfortably? Are there any islands nearby? Of course, this is South Blue, not the Grand Line. Maps are still useful. Quote. While they were talking, a news coup flew over. Look, a news coup has appeared. There is a limit to how far they can fly. The place where news coup appears must be within the range of some island. News coup is also a group of hardworking workers and it has not been a long time since they emerged. The world is always changing. Not only the pirates and marines are going through a generation change, but the news industry is also booming. In the past few years, the teenage Morgans entered the news industry, and with him came the news coup all over the world. Morgans, a Zoan-type ability user of bird fruit, model, Albatross, was originally unknown, and he appeared in front of everyone in the human beast form. Though he has eaten bird fruit, he cannot fly, and news is his favorite thing. World Economy newspaper has grown rapidly under his hands, and one of the reasons for its growth is the news coup. Morgans seem to have a special ability to communicate with birds, while the race called news coup is very intelligent. Under Morgan's control, these news coup became his most important employees. Picking up newspapers from a fixed place every morning, they fly in their respective areas with the newspapers and when they see a ship, they will go over to see if anyone needs newspapers. A few years ago, newspapers were 40 berries copy, but now it is 50 berries copy, and it will reach 100 berries copy in a few decades. News coup has its own uniform and a special money bag, and when facing new coup, even most pirates will obediently pay as it is an important source of information for them. Although the news is not 100% true, it can at least give them an idea of the outside world. Otherwise, after sailing on the sea for a few months, the changes may lead to serious consequences. As for not paying, it is not as if they can't do it, but the consequences that they will be completely blacklisted by News Coup, and no News Coup will ever come close to the people on that pirate ship. Moreover, News Coup seems to have the ability to perceive the death of their companions. If a pirate kills a News Coup, a group of News Coup will always fly above their ship. Birds have special body mechanisms to reduce weight. Which means these people will always face the baptism of bird excrement, and marines who were lured by News Coup. In order to avoid trouble, the pirates will not be stingy with these few dozen berries. In fact, there are not just a few pirates who pay to buy things, so as to avoid trouble. Many pirate crews are scumbags and bastards after all. For most pirates, it is considered kindness not to kill or rob, let alone buy things with money. Therefore, those who dare to do business with pirates usually have a certain amount of strength to guard against the other party not paying. Pirates will only pay honestly if they don't want to get into trouble, such as having a marine base nearby, a powerful bounty hunter or peers. Such factors can change the pirates' mind. They make money to spend. If they rob everything, then pirates don't need to look for treasures. Not to mention the allied kingdoms of the world government, marine bases are the kingdoms who have powerful garrisons. Even if they are flying the flag of a big pirate, it would put many people at ease. In the end, those who suffer are those ordinary people who have no strength, no background, and those who have the bad luck to be born in non-allied kingdom members. And even if you are from an allied kingdom, you have to look at your luck. The definition of pirates here is very wide. People like Arceus who cooperate with Kaido will definitely be regarded as pirates. However, their identity is not the most important thing. It's not as if there are no Marines who don't do evil. He will not become a villain who burns, kills and loots just because he is cooperating with Kaido. It is only he himself who can decide his actions. It is impossible to reconcile the conflict between the world government and the Lunarians. The once glorious race of gods is now on the verge of extinction, and they still regard him as a test object and research target. This hatred has been formed, even if he hadn't fused with Arceus' body, it will be the same. Brother Kaido, it's on the news, but they didn't mention anything else. Let's obtain some benefits through Kaido. Queen looked at the newspaper and said. It had the news about the laboratory being hit by a meteorite, which caused a leak in the pipeline and eventually an explosion, but it wasn't that long. It seems that you two don't have to feel worried for the time being. Queen took a brief look and handed the newspaper to Shayna. At this moment, Shayna and King were both in normal state. Since they were on a boat, they naturally didn't have to worry about their identities being exposed. Drug manufacturing laboratory. These people really dare to say this. After reading the news, Shayna was filled with anger. A research institute in the Red Line was razed to the ground. Naturally, such a thing cannot be concealed, but in the news, the research institute has turned into an important place for researching drugs. There is no mention of the Lunarians, only the distinctive features of the Lunarians was reiterated on the headlines of the front page, and that if anyone can provide information about them, they can obtain huge rewards after the news is confirmed. Actually, it was indeed a drug research institute, which has the world's best analytical facility and equipment. Queen was only halfway through before he had to shut up under Shayna's murderous eyes. But what he said is also true. The research institute had indeed developed a considerable number of highly effective drugs, because their test subjects were all people, and they directly experimented the drugs on people of various races. As for human rights, do non-allied kingdom members count as people? Do slaves count as people? Those people were just a consumable item in there. There is no doubt that Lunarians are special and have extremely high resistance, but they are extremely similar to humans. They are simply the perfect experimental subjects, and can be better used to observe drugs' reaction. The newspaper emphasized the importance of that research institute and said it would be rebuilt in a short time. Let them restore it. At worst, we will destroy it again. Arceus' voice was completely calm, he didn't care about the impact of destroying it. After Momonga transformed into an undead, his human nature became more and more indifferent, and his behavior became more and more close to that of an undead. Arceus is similar to him, but completely different. He is in charge of himself, but he is slightly influenced by Arceus in the way he does things, such as his extreme aversion to deceit. At its peak, let alone destroying a few Pokémon, Arceus could even directly destroy the god of creation of a world, not to mention destroying a research institute. If someone really touched his bottom line, he could even destroy a country. Look for the plates, restore his strength, and then overthrow the leadership. This is what he is going to do in the future. If the foundation of a big tree is already rotten, it is useless to cut off the dead branches and leaves. The problem can only be solved from the root. Or to say, change to a new tree. Lord Sacred Beast, you don't have to take action, I will use the power you bestowed me to burn them all to ashes. Then, Shayna continued to flip through the newspaper to see what had happened during this time. She and King had been out of touch with the world for a while. It is worth mentioning that not only did world government not mention the Lunarians, but even Kaido's news was somewhat different from the truth. It only said that he escaped from prison again and described the fact that he is an ability user. Looking at the information in the newspaper, Arceus even regretted that the chance to make money was gone. Kaido's identity as an ability user has been exposed. Originally, I wanted to use him to get some benefits. Benefits. Yeah, none of you are wanted now and only Kaido has a bounty. You could have pretended to be a bounty hunter and send Kaido to the marine base, and after you received the bounty, Kaido could have escaped by himself. It was such a good opportunity. It is said that the Marine's bounty is settled immediately, is that true? If the base has enough funds, it will be settled immediately. If it is not enough, it will be delivered after a while. With the bounty on Boss Kaido, the branch of South Blue may not be able to pay the money. Most pirates have a bounty, and the profession of bounty hunter came into being due to this. The corruption in a branch is indeed much more serious than in the headquarters, but they generally don't touch this part of the money. The higher the bounty, the less likely it is. Even lazy Marines hope that the region they are in charge of will be more stable and peaceful. If someone can send a pirate to the marine base, it means that they are stronger than that pirate. It is idiotic to anger someone who can capture a powerful pirate for the sake of few berries. But once in a while, you can meet such an idiot. 1.2 billion berries. What a pity, if we could have done it twice, we would have had enough funds. After hearing Arceus' plan, Queen was moved. 1.2 billion is Kaido's current bounty. Barry's current purchasing power is much higher than it would be in 30 years. Even if it succeeded once, he wouldn't have to ever worry about his research funds. As one of the founding members of Beast's Pirates, Queen had made a considerable contribution at this time. Currently everything possessed by their pirate crew is due to Queen's great contribution. He prepared the ship, drew up the route, and even the money spent is all his. You can't expect 3 people who escaped from the research institute and 1 person who just hatched from an egg to have money. Kaido used to have some morals when he was young. At first he ate the kingdom's food, and Marine's food after becoming wanted. When he was hungry, he gave himself up to Marines, and then escaped when he was full. That's why Arceus thought of obtaining benefits through Kaido, since he is already used to it. In the past he used to go to the prison ship to eat a buffet, so he shouldn't refuse if he can take food with himself this time. But the premise is that Kaido's identity of being an ability user wasn't exposed, otherwise he would be locked up with a large number of sea stones, turning Kaido into a muggle. At that time, with Marines watching over him, I am afraid that human resources will have to be wasted to rescue him. Although from what he can remember, Kaido was captured dozens of times, and he is still alive and well. But who knows how he did it? As expected, he isn't my number 1 worker for nothing. Speaking of which, Queen, how much money do you still have? Around a few million, but it doesn't matter. We can just rob a ship for something like this. Also, isn't Brother Kaido going to recruit people? They will have the ship with them. No, I just want to buy something while we're resupplying. Kaido. Don't sleep. Wake up. Arceus was chatting with Queen while reading the newspaper, but he stopped in the middle of their conversation because he saw a particular news in the newspaper. John Pirates has appeared in the South Blue and suddenly attacked 277th branch of Marines. Closing square bracket. None of the pirates in the 4 seas would blatantly attack a marine base, nor did they have the capability. Moreover, it was clearly written in the newspaper that John Pirates came from the Grand Line. He now needs Kaido to confirm whether this John is the one they are looking for. Real or fake. You can never wake up a person who is pretending to be asleep. If the person can be woken up, then he is probably really asleep. Kaido sat up in a daze, and then a newspaper was slapped on his face. John. This guy went to South Blue and attacked a marine base. Looking at the news, Kaido's face was full of disbelief. Based on what he knew about John, it was impossible for him to do such a thing. So is John in the newspaper the John you know? Yes, it's him in the photo. Kakira Island. Queen, where is this island? It's near Calm Belt. It shouldn't be that far from the direction we were originally going in, but why does this matter look so strange? Is this person a lunatic? Checking the direction against the compass, Queen changed the route, and then continued to flip through the newspaper. Although the information in it may not necessarily be completely true, it still has some reference value. As for why Queen is saying that the other party is a lunatic, it is because what he did is completely provoking the Marine's dignity. The news explained in detail what John has done until now. He actually spread the news from the Marine base and recruited pirates to form a big fleet. It is not uncommon for someone to take the initiative to attack a Marine base, but a person who dares to take down the Marine base and not flee immediately, instead occupies the island and recruits subordinates must be a lunatic. It would be understandable to him if it was Rox who did this kind of thing. Queen has also heard about what crazy things Rox did, but although Captain John has been notorious over the years, his notoriety is mostly about plundering, and there is rarely any news of his confrontation with Marines. Even Kaido, who was once on a ship with John, was puzzled. Marines or world government will certainly not publish the news of pirates recruiting crew members in the newspaper, but Morgans, the current president of the World Economy newspaper, has never been afraid of making things big. News which can make headlines is what he likes. The more something can cause a sensation, the more he wants to report it. Although he exaggerates to attract people's attention, and even makes up some things, no one can stop him from reporting what he wants. A pirate dared to do such a thing. This is a rarely seen big news story. So, naturally, he will not let this kind of news go. A whole page was devoted to this matter. Lunatic. From what I see, he is just an idiot. Even if it is South Blue, doing such a blatantly provocative thing, does he regard Marines as just a decoration? Shayna reached a new conclusion about it. Lunarians and the world government have had hundreds of years of grievances, while Marines belong to the organization under the jurisdiction of the world government. She had naturally encountered the Marines when she was fleeing for her life. The biggest force on the sea is Marines. Even decades later, on the sea where the 4 emperors, 7 warlords of the sea, Revolutionary Army and many other forces will be everywhere, Marines will still be the biggest overlord. Due to many restrictions and world government's policy reasons, the sea is quite chaotic. Pirates can act like a tyrant in a small territory, but they are still no match for the behemoth which is Marines. Which will still be the case decades later, let alone today. Although the new generation of Marines has not yet grown up, the older generation of Marines are still fighting on the front line, not to mention the emergence of the hero Garp after the Battle of God Valley 5 years ago, which made the morale of the Marines unprecedentedly high. Roger hadn't shouted out those classic words yet, so the sea as a whole was still quite peaceful. Although the Marines of 4 seas are not very strong, as long as there is even a single living person in the Marine headquarters, it is impossible for them to sit idly by and ignore this kind of thing. You are right, only idiots would do such a thing. Even Rox wouldn't have done it. John knows what kind of strength Rox had. Moreover, that guy knows how to seek profit and avoid trouble. Although he is greedy, he is not stupid. He will not do such a stupid thing. Quote. Although Kaido often does some seemingly reckless things, it is because his strength allows him to ignore using his brain. What's the point of thinking so much about things that you can just rush past? The word, cunning, is not excessive to describe him. When he was the apprentice, John was already an officer on the ship. The pirates of 4 seas are too weak in his eyes, and even if there are good seedlings, they have not grown up yet. John would only run over to 4 seas from the Grand Line to specially recruit subordinates if his brain was kicked by a donkey. It may be easy to fool people who don't know John, but to him, this news is full of loopholes. So this is an imposter. But are the pirates from the 4 seas so capable? Hearing what Kaido said, Arceus was a little disappointed, but also a little skeptical. There are many people with similar face and face blindness in this world, and coupled with the technology gap, information is not easy to circulate in some places. People can only judge the identity of the other party from the bounty warrant, and they may have never seen the other party in their entire life. Wearing signature clothes from the bounty warrant and painting the pirate flag, it is not difficult to impersonate someone. But according to Queen, in the South Blue, the marine base of Kakira Island is quite strong, not to mention that there are warships and coastal artillery in the base. So, it is impossible to capture it without any strength. Not necessarily, and that is indeed what John looks like. Moreover, the traces left by the destruction are similar to John, but his personality is quite different. Maybe that guy's personality has changed in the 5 years. Let's go and have a look, then we will know everything. Kaido can't be sure what happened just by reading the newspaper, so the best way is to go there and have a look. But then we can't sail over there slowly. The news in the newspaper is from yesterday, and it won't take more than a few days to move troops from the Grand Line to here. So, we have to find out what's going on with this John before the Marines arrive. Kaido's body began to expand and blue scales emerged to the surface of his body, and then the flame clouds under the claws picked up the ship and flew towards the direction of Kakira Island. At the same time, above the red line, a team of elite Marines changed ships and headed to South Blue. At this time, Vegapunk has just joined the world government and he hasn't yet implemented the technology of integrating seastone into the bottom of the warship to mask its presence from Sea Kings. Even if it's a marine fleet, if it tried to directly cross the calm belt, it may suffer unnecessary casualties. Although the specifications of the warship in the Four Seas is slightly worse than those in the headquarters, it doesn't matter as the fighting strength of the soldiers and captain is of elite level. Changing ships from the Red Line may waste some time, but it is much more reliable. Meanwhile, there were large and small pirate ships approaching Kakira Island. There is no lack of smart people on the sea, but there are also many idiots. Pirates and Marines are naturally opposing camps, and most of the time, it is pirates who flee the pursuit of Marines. But a pirate broke into Marines' base, which attracted many pirates. The turbulent South Blue. Hey, have you heard? The Marine base on Kakira Island was captured by pirates. Sigh, I heard. I plan to leave until it blows over. This place is too close to Kakira Island, so I am worried about something happening. On the island near Kakira Island, the residents of the small town were discussing this matter. In the Four Seas, this is big news. A marine base was actually captured by pirates, which is something no one expected. Where will you go? Marine base has been captured. Right now, we are at least on land. If you encounter those pirates at sea, you will have nowhere to run. But in case they come to loot this place. Anyways, I am going to the Fettery Kingdom, which is a member country of the world government, so it should be safer. This kind of incident in the originally peaceful Four Seas has spread panic among the people, and the other marine branches of South Blue did not choose to provide support, but chose to pull back their defenses. Marine branch of Kakira Island is the strongest branch in South Blue. Just like Smoker stationed in Logatown, the one who is guarding this place is also a captain from the headquarters. Marine branch under his jurisdiction was an elite branch, but even then it was defeated and the remaining branches basically did not provide any help. Moreover, base facilities on Kakira Island are mostly intact. So, it is not realistic to rely on just South Blue's marine strength to take revenge. So, without any better option, the nearby branches choose to protect themselves, which has led to the rampant pirates in South Blue recently. This is also the reason why that person wants to hide in the Fettery Kingdom. As an allied member country of the world government, a large number of Marines were stationed in the country. Moreover, their own kingdom's army is also not weak and the domestic environment is not bad. It takes at least 3 days to sail from this place to the Fettery Kingdom, and ships who do this have either already run away long ago, or they dare not go out to sea. Do you want to go there by rowing your own fishing boat? Why don't you go hide in the mountains with me? Those pirates are only after money and they will never go deep in the mountain forests. Quote. Share Island, this place is some distance away from Kakira Island, and on the sea here, 3 ships got engaged in an artillery battle. 2 of the ships belonged to pirates, and 1 belonged to Marines. Whether it is the tonnage or firepower of the ship, the Marines' ship had an advantage. Although the latest order that South Blue has received is that the Marines near Kakira Island are not allowed to randomly attack and pull back their defenses to wait for reinforcements from the headquarters, but not all Marines could tolerate this order. There are corrupted leeches in the Marine. As Marines, they do the same things as pirates, but there are also people who really follow the justice in their hearts and fight to protect the safety of the people. Although they had received the order, some branches were still carrying out attacks against pirates. Lieutenant Commander. We don't have sufficient ammunition. Our previous supplies are all stranded on Kakira Island, and we already have no more artillery shells. Move closer and prepare to board their ships for battle. These damned pirates have come from nowhere. Everyone, we can't back down, otherwise what will the residents of the nearby islands do? Get ready, they're coming. Yes. In the end, one of the 2 ships escaped, the other was captured and the remaining pirates on board surrendered. Lieutenant Commander. It's the captain's call, he wants us to return to the base immediately. Other pirate crews have appeared near the base, but the base is short of manpower. Recently, the number of pirates in South Blue has increased drastically. Some people who were hesitant before have also joined the ranks of pirates in this situation. When the desire in the heart is aroused, the depravity of people comes out in a split second. The surge in the number of pirates plus the orders from the headquarters has led to a shortage of manpower among Marines, and the manpower of the Marine branch still carrying out missions has become stretched. That's why they did not continue to pursue the fleeing pirate ships, because that direction was Kakira Island. This lieutenant commander was upright, but not stupid. The number of pirates gathered there was not something a medium-sized warship like theirs could handle, which has run out of artillery shells. Moreover, the order from the headquarters is to let those pirates go there, and wait for the reinforcements from the headquarters to annihilate them in one fell swoop. While those pirates were on a rampage, a huge encirclement net was being laid by Marines. However, the pirates didn't know about Marines' actions. These pirates living in the four seas don't know how terrifying the monsters in the Grand Line are. Their actions have touched Marines' bottom line, and even the world government feels that they have lost face. So the annihilation force led by a Marine admiral has already been mobilized and is on its way. It's just that Marine admirals usually carry out missions in more important places, so it will take a while for them to rush over. While those pirates were still immersed in their carnival, more and more pirates began to gather at Kakira Island. Captain, are we really going to Kakira Island? We will only be cannon fodder there. On a pirate ship, the first mate's tone was somewhat hesitant. His and the captain's bounty altogether was only 3 million berries. He didn't think he was qualified to participate in such a thing. When some people are overwhelmed by greed, there are also people who are clear-headed in this world, but he can't change the captain's order. Don't be afraid, those Marines from 277th branch have all been defeated. That is the legendary pirate from the Grand Line, Captain John, with a bounty of 2.1 billion berries. How can we miss this kind of opportunity? As long as we can join this guy, we can also go to the Grand Line. Quote. The bounty issued by Marines to hunt down pirates is instead used as capital for the pirates to show off. This kind of thing is not common in the New World. Everyone there understands that the bounty is at most a reference, and strength is the key. But in Four Seas and even Paradise, many pirates regard bounties as an alternative reflection of strength. However, the bounty is drawn up based on their strength and level of danger. Some people's bounty has nothing to do with their strength, but their crimes are too serious, or they know too much. As he spoke, he pulled the first mate to his side, and said in a low voice, besides, even if it's cannon fodder, it would be those idiots who don't even have a bounty. Boys, speed up, Captain John has said that he wants to share the greatest treasure in the world with us. It must be wealth that you can never spend in your lifetime. If Kaido was here and he heard these words, he would probably have a cramp from laughing. One of the biggest jokes on Rock's pirates was John willing to share his treasures. If it wasn't for the fact that the clues in the photo were very similar to John's working, Kaido could have concluded that this John was a fake just based on the words, sharing treasures. At this time, in the room of the former base head of 277th Marine Branch, a man wearing a red coat with a western knife and a long sword hanging from his waist on both sides was sitting on a chair with his legs crossed. In front of him was a Den Den Mushi whose receiver hadn't closed yet, but the person on the other side seemed to have hung up while there was still a strange smile on its face. The observer in the sky. Although Den Den Mushi had hung up, Den Den Mushi's expression hadn't completely recovered. Looking at its eyes that have just closed, it can be seen that its expression was exactly the same as that of John on the chair. Regarding the attire, the shell of the Den Den Mushi has a pair of mask-like patterned prop, which is the personalized accessory given to Den Den Mushi by their owner to highlight the differences between Den Den Mushi. Den Den Mushi is generally similar to its owner in appearance, and its expression when talking imitates the person on the other end of the phone. The attire of the Den Den Mushi on the table is different from Captain John's attire, but they are also somewhat similar. Picking up a bottle of wine from the table on the side, he pulled out the cork and drank directly from the bottle, his face showing a look of enjoyment. The base chief's collection, these Marines really know how to live comfortably. As he spoke, he walked to the window and looked outside at the military drill ground in the distance that originally belonged to Marines. However, the training Marines had been replaced by a group of disorderly pirates. Fighting, brawling, gambling, doing all kinds of unruly things. With different pirate crews divided into their respective groups, it looks like large-scale armed fighting will break out at any time. Captain John, another pirate crew has come to join us. Now we have altogether 70 or more ships and more than 6,000 pirates. John's grand fleet has almost been assembled. Also there are 7 people with bounties of over 10 million. When are we going to look for that legendary treasure? John's expression didn't change. Whether it was more than 70 ships or more than 6,000 pirates, or the pirates with a bounty of more than 10 million, none of them aroused his interest. The firepower of a pirate ship is different from that of marine warships. Many of more than 70 ships were just boats that can only carry dozens of people. Compared with the warships that were previously in the base, there is a world of difference. Their main firepower currently depends on the 2 captured warships and the ammunition stockpiled in Kakira Island. These are the supplies that Marines hadn't distributed yet, and now they have all fallen into the hands of these pirates. Don't worry, this is the biggest treasure in the world, enough for everyone to have a share. The more people there are, the faster we can obtain it. But Captain John, more and more people are coming and the supplies in the base are only enough for us to last for 3 days. Then go rob it. Do you need me to teach you this kind of thing? Kakira Island, which is not a commercial island, has already been robbed clean. There are no more supplies, but we have more and more people coming. 277th branch of the Marines stationed only 1,000 people, just a large warship of the headquarters and a few more troops, but this is 4 seas after all, and 1,000 people stationed in a branch is too much. There were originally enough supplies for this branch to use for 2 months, but with the influx of a large number of pirates and the extravagance and waste by the pirates, the food was being consumed at an extremely fast pace. Moreover, the changes here had caused all the merchant ships to stop, and it has been a long time since they have seen fresh fruits and vegetables. This is one of the reasons why these pirates often break out into fights to vent their emotions. Captain John, you'd better go and calm down everyone. Those newcomers who haven't seen you are all uncertain. These pirates who have gathered temporarily have no cohesiveness at all, and they came here entirely because of John's fierce reputation, but they have been waiting blindly after arriving here, which caused many of them's patience to wear away. So, at this time, John needs to go out and appease them. Really troublesome. In that case, you go and tell them first, we will leave within 7 days and those who don't want to wait can leave. I will soon be out. At this time, on the military drill ground that originally belonged to Marines, an armed confrontation was taking place. No one knew what the cause was anymore as the people around were roaring, wanting to see them fight to death. Captain, do we still wait? That Captain John has been waiting here for too long. What is he waiting for? Waiting for the Marines to surround us. Not everyone is a fool. Capturing a Marine base will inevitably lead to Marines' encirclement. They thought that John would take this opportunity to recruit some troops and then rush into the Grand Line, but they didn't expect him to still stay here. We have waited for so long, it's a pity to leave now. Moreover, he is also a pirate. It is impossible for him to reach a deal with Marines. You all saw that day he chopped off Captain's head. So, there is basically no possibility of reconciliation. In a corner where no one was around, an unremarkable pirate picked up a Den Mushi and made a phone call. John has still not taken any action. He seemed to be waiting for something. And there is still no way to tell whether the treasure he talked about is rocks, treasure. After saying this, he didn't wait for the other side's response and immediately put away Den Mushi and left. He is a spy from CP7. Because he was operating closest to this place, he was immediately dispatched by the chief of CP. After the rocks pirates were destroyed, the world government did not find rocks, treasures. Even the world government is moved by that enormous wealth, so they naturally sent someone to pay attention to the situation here. If John acts in advance, he is responsible for passing this information to the top. If John tries to leave by himself, he will similarly send the information so that the government can make new countermeasures. At this time, John left his room, took the Marine's megaphone and began to motivate the pirates below. His words seemed to resonate with them very well. Whenever he said something, the pirates would burst into cheers. The scorching sun caused the temperature on the drill ground to soar, but the excitement of the pirates was not affected by the scorching sun. Their attraction towards treasures is quite great, which is also the purpose of most pirates going out to sea. Soon afterwards, a gust of wind blew past, and the blowing clouds cast a shadow on the drill ground, which made many pirates feel a lot more comfortable, but they didn't notice that the cloud was quite lower and the shape of the cloud was also not right. At this time, Arceus and his group had arrived on Kakira Island, and they were observing the situation below from Kaido's flame cloud. They saw John standing in the center giving a speech. This guy's voice and manner of speaking are the same as John's, but what he said is not something that John would ever say. He is really a strange guy. In the sky, Kaido, who was also listening to John's speech, made his own evaluation. Although they were still high in the sky where the sound at this distance should not have reached, but enhanced by observation haki, it allowed him to hear what John said, and what John said before fell into his ears without missing any word. Compared with armament haki, observation haki has more diversified abilities. According to different users, observation haki also have different abilities, and some special people have innate unique observation haki. Finding the wrong person, listening to the voice of everything, enhanced senses, reading mind, predicting the future, depending on the mastery of observation haki and one's own strength, the things you can do may vary. Some of these abilities have to be either developed or rely on talent. But compared to the abilities above, observation haki has much more terrifying abilities. Those types of observation haki can sense the psychological changes and emotional thinking of the target, experience the emotions of others, and can also transmit one's own consciousness to the other party's mind. They can influence the target's mind with their thoughts, can generate strong resonance with thoughts, and subtly change the other's values like brainwashing. However, this type of highest level of observation haki is innate and cannot be improved through training. People who possess this type of highest level of observation haki are even rarer than those who possess Conqueror's haki. Except for Princess Otahime of Fishman Island, there is no second person who has a similar ability. Kaido's observation haki does not have so many special abilities, but he is still very proficient in the most basic enhanced senses. In that case, let's find a place to land first. In Arceus' opinion, although this John is suspicious and could be a fake, he may have some connection with the real John. So, they should be able to get what they want from him, but Kaido did not choose this method. He sees no point in wasting time with a fake. No, it's too troublesome. There is an easier way to know whether this guy is the real John. Saying that, Kaido opened his mouth wide and he began to gather scorching energy in his mouth. Blast breath. He shot out scorching dragon flames, aiming at John below. John used to be an officer on Rock's ship back then. If John below is real, then his attack would not work so easily. He must have a way to deal with it. But if it's fake and he can't receive my attack, then he can only say that John deserves it. Pretending to be someone, the price one has to pay for this is very high. Kaido is not someone who cares about others, and even his own people can sometimes get affected by him, let alone those who have nothing to do with him. The scorching dragon's breath swept down, and the pirates close to John suffered an unexpected disaster, and were turned into charred residues under the blazing flames. No one stopped Kaido. Queen was unable to stop and also did not want to stop him. He doesn't care about these people's lives at all. King and Shayna were also indifferent, their enemies were not only the world government when fleeing. Marines, pirates, bounty hunters, and even ordinary people may be their enemies. Their hearts have long become indifferent under the baptism of the world, and things that have nothing to do with Lunarians are not worthy of their emotions. Arceus could stop Kaido, but he has no reason to do so. He could watch indifferently because of Arceus' influence, and even his human heart has no intention of stopping Kaido. The situation in the marine base is not very good. The people of Kakira Island suffered the most from this change. He may currently be an ally of the pirates, but it does not mean that he also wants to degenerate into this kind of scum. What is that? Kaido's blast breath caught everyone's attention. The clouds parted, and Kaido's huge figure appeared in the sky. The main target of the blast breath just now was John, but it also took the lives of nearly 100 people who were nearby. The burning corpses undoubtedly caused fear to spread among the crowd. They had just wanted to get closer to John, to see if they could get acquainted with him, but now they just want to stay far away from this hornet's nest. Confusion spread among the crowd, but a roar at this time calmed them down again. Bastard, who dares to sneak attack me? John was still alive. The flames hadn't extinguished yet, but John's voice came from the smoke. That's right, we have Captain John. Captain John is still alive. We still have Captain John. That's a powerful pirate with a bounty of 2.1 billion berries. Captain John, show that weird dragon how powerful you are. In the Grand Line, devil fruit users are not uncommon. So, most people who hang out in the Grand Line know the power of devil fruit. But this is South Blue, and some pirates who came here may have never left the vicinity of the island where they were born, and they may have also never heard of legendary things like devil fruit. Kaido's dragon is just a monster in some people's eyes, and their Captain John is naturally their dragon-slaying hero. Some people were still fleeing, but more people stopped and started shouting John's name. And John also saw the person who released that attack, Kaido, who was flying in the sky. His eyes immediately shrank and beads of sweat kept dripping down from his forehead. So annoying, ants should just act like ants. The crowd's shouts seemed to have angered Kaido. With him as the center, Conqueror's haki swept through the entire marine branch. Whether it were the cannon fodder soldiers, or the people with over 10 million bounties who were mentioned by that pirate, after Kaido's baptism of Conqueror's haki, they collapsed like cutting wheat. The pirates with foaming at the mouth and eyes rolled over were nearly covering most of the drill ground. Only those who never stopped running away were still clear-headed, but those people looked perplexed and puzzled. They didn't know what happened. Arceus, on the other hand, jumped down from Kaido's flame cloud. His physique was not bad, so when Kaido descended while releasing his domineering aura, apart from creating a big crater on the ground, he was not affected by anything else. Where's the real Captain John? He could smell the fear from the other person, and based on this alone, he couldn't be the notorious John. Although John's high bounty is related to his behavior, he is also quite strong. After all, he was the officer on Rock's pirate ship 5 years ago. Just now Kaido's attack was just a playful attack, but even such an attack could not be blocked by him. This cannot be John at all. Now he just wants to know what relationship this John has with the real John. What are you talking about? I am John. You are just a trifling ability user, don't be too insolent. The strange talking creature, in John's opinion, is just a Zoan-type ability user. At this time, Kaido turned back into human and landed on the ground. Then, do you remember me, John? Kaido. If it isn't an old friend. Long time no see. But, why have you shown up like this? The words old friend caused Kaido's face to turn completely gloomy. There were indeed people on Rock's pirate ship who had good relationships, but his relationship with John is definitely not like that. This also means that they found the wrong person. Queen suffering again. Old friend. Then you can feel the care from an old friend. Kaido's entire face had almost turned dark. He can easily get emotional and is always moody. To Arceus, if you find the wrong one, you can look for it again. The plates cannot get lost, and no one can destroy them. Even if he found the wrong one, there will be no big emotional fluctuations. But Kaido is different. On the ship before, he dreamed that he was leading a Mythical Zoan Army to launch a large-scale war. In the end, he turned out to be a fake. If he can't find the real John, he wouldn't be able to find Rock's treasure, and if he can't find the treasure, he wouldn't be able to find the whereabouts of that plate, and without that plate, his deal won't be possible and his dream would be far away from him. For a pirate, there is nothing worse than destroying their dreams. Kaido picked up his club, which has always been hanging from his belt in dragon form. From this, it can be seen that the quality of his belt is quite good. You are John, right? Then you will definitely be able to receive this. Thunder Bagua. The strangest thing about the people of Rock's ship is they have never gotten along with each other. If it weren't for Rock's absolute crushing strength, it would be impossible for these monsters to gather together. And the consequence of this was that the pirate crew had no cohesion at all. So when facing a big crisis, most of them chose to run away on their own, otherwise Rock's would not have gotten defeated so easily. Although there is not much conflict between Kaido and John, their relationship is also not very good. This attack could be blocked by even John from 5 years ago. The club, surrounded by haki, smashed towards John's head. No matter how John tried to avoid it, the club was always locked onto his head. So as a last resort, he raised his sword and swung it towards Kaido, trying to block the attack. But at the moment when the western sword and the club came into contact, an unimaginably weird force was transmitted from the sword to his wrist. Don't know what the sword was made of, but it did not break from Kaido's attack, however he lost his grip from the sword and it dropped under Kaido's tremendous force. This guy can't use a sword at all. His posture when holding the sword is weird, and the disparity between the strength of his left hand is too big from that of his right hand. He doesn't look like a two-handed swordsman. Queen and King commented about John from the side. Neither of them was a swordsman, and although Queen had 2 swords hanging by his side, he had more weapons in his body. He might pull out all sorts of strange weapons when fighting. As for King, the sword is just his weapon, he has no so-called fixed style, his sword only exists for fighting. But in their view, John is completely a layman who doesn't know how to use weapons. No, don't you think he is a bit strange? Compared with normal people, his movements are slightly stiff. Queen and King were focused on the collision of weapons, while Shayna saw how uncoordinated his body was. It was like he was not a living person, but more like a puppet. Meanwhile, something weird happened on Kaido's side. After John dropped his weapon, the club hit the top of John's head, and then it directly smashed on the ground. But Kaido felt that something was wrong. The thing he hit was more like a piece of wood than a human being. When the smoke and dust dissipated, there was no blood on the ground and only fragments of unknown material, mixed with bone-like white objects, and a mask that was broken into several pieces. Substitute. Ability user. Looking at the puppet that had broken and returned to its true appearance, Kaido couldn't understand what happened, but the lead he finally found with difficulty seemed to have been cut off. Queen walked over and picked up the things on the ground without hesitation and observed them. This piece should be the humerus. It seems to have been dried and pieced together using special means, but who would have thought this thing can actually talk? Kaido ignored Queen's analysis, and walked towards the base in front of him. Although the puppet in front of him has disappeared, he could sense a special aura from the base in front of him. At this time, those pirates who had fainted due to the influence of his conqueror's haki actually stood up one by one, but their eyes were still rolled over. They were not awake, and it looked like they were being controlled by something. A large number of pirates were blocking the entrance of the base building, with no intention of letting Kaido go in. At this time, a radio rang out from inside the base. Kaido. Why are you pirates in this kind of place? Huh. Why would I care about a coward like you? I'm just here to look for John. What is your relationship with him? Let him come out, or tell me where he is. I'm not interested in you. If he was simply pretending to be John, it would have been impossible for him to leave traces similar to John's attacks here. Moreover, his clothes are exactly the same as John, and it seems that he also has some understanding of his relationship with John. It must have been pre-planned from long ago. Kaido didn't speak very loudly, but he got a response from the other party. He seems to have used a unique method to speak. If you want to find John, wait until you can find me. The pirates in the four seas are indeed a bunch of waste. It's better to use them this way. There were crowds of people around who had surrounded Kaido and the others like zombies. Queen, King, Shayna, and even Arceus were surrounded by many pirates. But before Arceus could take action, the pirates near him were knocked away by two figures, one red and one gray, flames and rocks forming an impenetrable line of defense. I'm not so weak. Lord Sacred Beast, if just anyone can come near you, it would be a real humiliation to us. You don't have to do anything. King and I will deal with them. At this time, a tactless voice sounded from behind. Hey, can you two tell me before leaving? It's very troublesome if you disappear suddenly. Queen had transformed into a huge Tropius, and some fearless pirates who were not afraid to die had already crawled onto his leg. The sudden departure of King and Shayna caused Queen to face more pirates at the same time. Although they are all cannon fodder, they are still troublesome. He hasn't brought his heavy weapons with him and the ammunition of the weapons in his body haven't been replenished yet. As for Tropius's own abilities, they haven't been developed yet. So, he could only use his huge body to fight with brute force. On the other side, the other party was still talking using the radio. Kaido, you are just an apprentice, don't be rampant there, you are already at an absolute disadvantage in terms of troops. Troops. What's the use of having so many go for nothing? How can you be so naive? ACT fruit, puppetry. Kaido jumped into the air, then used his ability and transformed into human beast form. Kosan's Ragnaröku. He suddenly waved down the iron club, but his target was not those pirates, but the building in the marine base. These pirates may look fierce and fearless, but they are very weak and can't stop Kaido. So Kaido completely ignored them, and smashed down the building, creating a hole in the ground. And below the marine base was the basement. At this time, there was a man sitting cross-legged with a mask in his hand inside, looking at Kaido who had appeared in front of him with an incomprehensibly shocked look on his face. Found you, in this group of cannon fodder, your aura is as obvious as a torch in the dark night. Everyone's aura is slightly different, and Fujitora can detect the subtle differences with his super-enhanced senses. Even if he doesn't know anyone's face as he is blind, he can still distinguish them. Kaido has not developed his observation haki in this direction, but sensing the strength of individuals is also one of the basic abilities of observation haki. After developing it, one can roughly judge the strength of the enemy. Although there was more than one aura in the building, a powerful aura was mixed in with a group of cannon fodder pirates, so how could Kaido not sense it? You clearly know so many things, but you don't even have the most basic common sense. Where did you come from? I'll ask one last time, where is John? The sword marks outside are clearly made in John's style, so he must have been here. Where has he gone now? The man didn't speak. Instead, he raised the mask in his hand and put it on his face. There was a pair of demonic horns on the mask. Although the mask looked a bit abstract, it could be seen that it overall has the features of Kaido. I'm an ability user who has eaten act fruit of Paramecia type. Your power is going to be used by me. Then, the man wearing the mask suddenly transformed, turning into Kaido. It's just that it was not his human beast form, but human form. The user of act fruit will have the same ability as the actor, and the previously unconscious pirates acting like zombies is also the effect of his fruit's ability puppetry. Within the range of his stage, he can manipulate other people like a puppet to perform an act, but the stronger the individual's strength, the more difficult they are to manipulate. Even a person of Queen's strength can't be easily manipulated. However, puppetry pays more attention to quantity. He originally wanted to cause chaos among the Marines due to internal disorder when they arrived, but he didn't expect to use it on this group of pirates first. Kaido also helped him indirectly. If those people were not unconscious, it would be basically impossible for him to manipulate such a large number of puppets. Moreover, only within the range of the stage can the puppets be manipulated. During these days, he didn't leave this place precisely because he has transformed this base into his stage with his ability. John outside in the center was his acting clone. Using the mask he carved as a carrier, he can create and manipulate a clone that is the same as the person depicted on the mask, but this requires the blood or body parts of the person being copied to look similar in appearance. The mask he put on his face at this time is another application of his ability, actor reinforcement. When the acting clone witnesses the power of an enemy, the main body can make the enemy's mask according to the feedback provided from the clone. When the main body puts on the mask, he will gain the power witnessed by the clone, but he can only make the mask within a few hours of witnessing the power. And he can only obtain physical strength. If the opponent is an ability user, then he cannot possess the ability that belongs to the opponent. So, now he is going to use the mask to copy Kaido's power, and use Kaido to fight Kaido. Prop. After he said these words, a club of the same type as Kaido appeared in his hand. On his stage, he can acquire the props he needs for his act, which naturally also include weapons. Seeing that he could not reproduce his fruit ability, Kaido actually cancelled his human beast form, causing the masked man to become surprised at Kaido's actions. A disguise. No wonder you could disguise yourself as John. Now, let me see how much a fake like you can copy. Not only did he pretend to be John, but he also seemed to have a little understanding of some things that only John should know. For example, he knows about him being the apprentice, but he doesn't know about his relationship with John. This means that he has met John. Kaido wants to pry his mouth open to get information about John, and he also wants to see what it is like to fight himself. After a short fight, the smile on Kaido's face faded, replaced by disappointment. What? You can only imitate the power that you saw when I attacked. This is too disappointing. Fake Kaido can also use Thunder Bagua, but the strength contained in it is equal to the strength that Kaido used when he attacked fake John before without any enhancement, which could naturally be sensed by him after several rounds of exchanging blows. The more important thing is that his Haki training is too lacking, so his basic armament Haki wasn't enough for his Thunder Bagua. Ability may seem strange, but combat strength is very weak. This is Kaido's assessment of him. In the end, Kaido lost interest in this boring act. I'll let you experience what Thunder Bagua is. A huge human-shaped imprint was left on the ruins of the building, and the rest of the pirates collapsed on the ground again. After the ability user loses consciousness, their ability will also lose its effectiveness. When the ability user of act fruit lost consciousness, the curtain also dropped on the act. This guy won't die, will he? No, I held back since he should know John's whereabouts. Kaido has a lot of experience in beating people to a near-death state, which can be very handy. Arceus and the others did not stay in the base, instead they left the 277th branch with the unconscious man. They took away a patrol ship, leaving behind only the unconscious pirates. The pirates who were the first one to run away quickly had long sailed away from this place. They had only gathered here because of the benefits. So, it isn't that strange to run away when the situation is not good. The sky was getting darker. Queen set sail for the expansive sea area. Although this ship was not comparable to the large warship of a vice admiral which can carry more than 800 people, it was still much more spacious than Queen's previous small boat. Anyway, this kind of ship is easy to operate, and 2 or 3 people are enough to barely operate it. And even if they were given a large warship, they would not have enough manpower to sail it. There is also a prison for pirates in the patrol ship. The man they brought has been handcuffed by seastone cuffs. Since Kaido held back, the man was gradually regaining consciousness. I just let him experience what I've been through. Lord Sacred Beast, Big Brother Kaido, I found that guy's identity. He is this year's super rookie with a bounty of 200 million berries, Death Actor Ralph. The easiest way to determine the identity of a pirate is to look through the Marine's wanted list. Warships usually have a special booklet which has the information of the wanted list, all of whom are criminals with a bounty in recent years. This information was provided by Kaido. They were not very familiar with a Marine's patrol ship when they boarded the ship. When Queen was still exploring it, Kaido had already accurately pointed out the location of every compartment on the ship. He knew exactly where the detention room, weapons depot, and especially the kitchen were located. As for the reason, he has been on this kind of ship several times, and he is already familiar with its layout. These kinds of ships were Kaido's favorite back then. There is sufficient food, and the people are not strong. He can pretend to get caught, and he can leave when he has eaten his full. It's the best cafeteria. He had seen the booklet by chance when he was captured earlier, so he found it immediately. Since Ralph's ability is not simple, and he has a superficial knowledge of hockey, he couldn't be an ordinary person, so King has been looking through the wanted list, and he found his target. At this time, Queen was at the helm outside and Shayna was making food in the kitchen of the ship, while King, Arceus and Kaido were outside the detention room. The sound of Ralph pulling the shackles while struggling after waking up reached their ears. That guy is awake, he should have a lot of information. Kaido kicked open the door of the detention room. The setting sun on the sea level cast the last rays of light into the cabin, illuminating a face covered with bandages. Kaido didn't hold back when he dragged him to the ship. The scars on his face were the result of his tenacious vitality. Tell me, where is John? Kaido's club hit the floor, creating a deep hole, the flying sawdust even hitting King's face. Kaido, be careful not to break the ship. Don't worry, there are as many ships like this as you need, at worst, we will just rob a new one. Facing Kaido's interrogation, Ralph didn't answer, but threatened Kaido instead. Bâtard, you bâtards. I am a newcomer who Captain John regards highly. Captain John won't let you off for this when he comes over. Kaido, I know you are just an apprentice. You aren't Captain John's match. You don't seem to be very clear about your situation. Looking at Ralph who was still acting rowdy after waking up, Kaido decided to let him understand his situation first. Just when he was about to let him experience the touch of his club, King stopped Kaido. King, what are you doing? Brother Kaido, leave him to me, I have a way to make him speak. For some reason, Arceus saw an emotion in King's eyes that wasn't quite right, and then at his request, Kaido and Arceus left the detention room first. The setting sun sank into the sea, and the sun's rays returned to darkness. Queen also dropped the anchor and stopped the ship. Since there is a rocky area nearby, it is easy to damage the ship in the dark. When he left the pilot's cabin to find something to eat, he noticed the screams coming from below the deck. He also saw Kaido with an amused look on his face. This is that guy's scream, right? What happened? King is torturing him. Kaido replied indifferently. In his opinion, this was nothing at all. After a while, the voice inside changed from tragic to feeble, and finally became indistinct. At this time, King opened the door and walked out. Lord Sacred Beast, he is willing to speak. If you have any questions, you can ask them. I'm going to leave first. King wiped the blood from his hands, then left the cabin and walked to the deck. But before leaving, the eyes that looked at Queen contained an ominous glint. Wow, is this guy a pervert? Brother Kaido, I think you have to pay attention in the future. Queen looked in to take a look and even he, who was accustomed to all kinds of experiments, could only describe Ralph's condition as tragic. Broken and deformed arms, charred face, stones piercing his shoulder blade and the bloodstains everywhere described what happened earlier. Anyway, this kid has really got good skills. He avoided all the places that could be fatal, and they are all dreadful wounds that are not deadly. You need to be familiar with every part of the body to modify a human body, so Queen could see what King did at a glance. Queen, heal him. You and Kaido question him first. I'll come back later to see if you missed anything. Where are you going, Lord Arceus? Queen is not a Lunarian. He feels weird calling him Lord Sacred Beast. In fact, Arceus told King and Shayna that they could call him by his name, but they refused. However, Queen is different. He originally wanted to address him as brother like how he addresses Kaido. But every time he did that, Shayna and King would glare at him with a dangerous look, so he added honorific titles such as Lord or Mr. to his name. I'll go check on King, there's something wrong with him. If it's just asking questions, anyone can do it. Moreover, it's more convenient for Kaido to do the asking, because he knows about John better. But, King and Shayna are currently his closest subordinates, and he is more concerned about their condition. If it weren't for the fact that his strength was incomplete, and he has to also consider the energy consumption issue, he would have definitely given them better abilities, but that'll have to come later. On the deck, King had his hands propped on the side of the ship and looking into the distance, thinking who knows what. Albert, is something weighing on your mind? I don't, Lord Sacred Beast, you are worrying too much. Your feelings are written on your face. There are no outsiders here. It is no good to keep some things in your heart. You will feel happier if you let it all out. But if you really don't want to say it, forget it. Quote. King fell silent, and after a long time, he spoke. Lord Sacred Beast, do you know? I don't know how to interrogate with torture at all. Then just now, I just repeated on his body what the people in the institute did to me. Breaking bones to test the speed of physical recovery, emptying the blood to test the speed of blood regeneration, injecting unknown drugs to test the effect and the body's resistance to poison. How much he could endure the harsh environments such as cold, blistering heat, lack of water, etc., these are all the things that King experienced in the research institute. Some words could only be buried in the heart and he would only think about it when he is alone, but when the topic was drawn out, he couldn't stop. For King, Arceus is not only a sacred relic which was worshipped by Lunarians, but also an elder to whom he can pour out the worries in his heart. His words were similar to complaining, and he also felt that it was not appropriate to tell the sacred beast about such things, but in the sea, he could no longer find any elders he knew well. Promise. Uncle Ludo lured Marines away and disappeared, Brother Avnisha died with a group of pirates, and Aunt Amelia died at the hands of Cypher Pole of world government. What did we do wrong? From the day we were born, we were part of Lunarians. We didn't do anything, but ordinary people wanted to capture us for bounty, and the world government wanted to use us for research, wanting to get more power. Quote. That pirate could only last for less than a quarter of an hour, but Shayna and I suffered something like that for half a year. Quote. King talked about the things he experienced, and the names he mentioned who are gone now also have his relatives, including his and Shayna's parents. The torture they subjected him to test his endurance was very painful. The unknown drug flowed through his blood to every corner of his body, and the bone-piercing pain could be felt from every part of the skin. He even forgot how he held on and the only thought in his heart was that he wanted to survive. He wants revenge, he wants to find a land where Lunarians can live freely. These are the things he had buried in his heart. He is usually under a lot of pressure, and he always sees familiar smiles and hateful faces in his dreams, which is why he looked at Queen with an ominous glint in his eyes at that time. He has no good impression of any researcher from that institute, even if Queen's project has little to do with them. The flames behind him ignited, and several cracks appeared on the side of the ship due to the overwhelming force from his palms. Under the sea breeze, the waves were carried into the sky, and water fell at King's feet, splashing the deck. He has seen countless betrayals and conspiracies, seen the horrors of greed and experienced countless battles and escapes, which together make it easy for people to overlook a problem, i.e. age. King is currently only 14 years old, and Shayna is a few months younger than him. She had just celebrated her 14th birthday not long ago, and she spent it while lying on the icy experiment table in the research institute with only walls around her. They are only two medium-sized children, but they are burdened with things they shouldn't have been burdened with so early on. I'm sorry, Lord Sacred Beast. I let you listen to too much nonsense, I shouldn't complain about it. It's all right, it's not a good thing to worry too much. Anyway, Shayna, come over, you have been eavesdropping for a long time. Arceus didn't turn around, but said behind him with a certainty in his tone, even if he has lost most of the plates, his senses are still very sharp. I wasn't, Lord Sacred Beast, I just wanted to call King over to eat. Does that require crying? And Albert, you also have tears flowing down your face. There are not many ingredients, so I was making some curry, and this is because of the onions, pungent smell when I was cutting them. That's sea water, Lord Sacred Beast. Both of them immediately denied, each having their own reasons, but when someone loses all their relatives at the age of 14, how can they not be sad when remembering them? Shayna, Albert, listen carefully, the debt of blood must be paid in blood, and everything they owe the Lunarians must be paid with interest. I promise in the divine name of Arceus, you will once again witness the glory of Lunarians burning in the sky of the Red Line. People worshipped the god, and the god responded. At the beginning, he gave the Lunarians power for his own purpose, but the Lunarians protected him to the last person. Even if only King and Shayna were left, they did not give up. This dedication is worth a promise. The flames behind the duo illuminated the deck, and at the moment, a new fire with hope as nourishment was added to Lunarian's flame. Arceus sort of acted as a psychiatrist and helped the two express their emotions, but things weren't over yet as King's state doesn't feel right to him. Sometimes the shadows of childhood can't be cured throughout one's lives. Then they are not considered shadows anymore. At the age when they should be full of youth, they have seen the darkness of the world. If it isn't handled properly, it could darken their future. Albert, what was with your expression after you tortured him? Lord Sacred Beast, I can't describe the feeling, but I felt very comfortable after that. Post-traumatic stress disorder. It is obvious that after experiencing these things, some psychological shadow has been left in King's heart, and bringing the pain he experienced to others via torture can relieve the stress in his heart. Now it can be explained why Queen in original timeline calls King a torture-loving pervert. Without the assistance of Arceus, Shayna would have died in the research institute, so it is not surprising that King, who had lost all his clansmen, had a twisted nature. King used these actions as a way to vent his emotions. It's okay to vent your emotions properly, but don't get immersed in that feeling. You have to control your body instead of being controlled by your body. This is a tragic world, and even a holy mother cannot survive here. In other words, it doesn't matter how tragic the captured enemy ends up as. If King's emotions can be vented in this way, their value can be maximized, as long as he doesn't develop into a person who feel happy torturing others. Go get some rest. From now on, if you have anything you want to tell, I'm all ears. It's almost time, I'll go see how Kaido and the others are doing. After experiencing King's methods, Ralph told everything that he knew. South Blue's marine branch was indeed destroyed by John, and he indeed did go to South Blue, but he left long ago. In fact, Marine Branch fell earlier than the newspaper mentioned, but he staged an act with his Devil Fruits ability, which delayed the time. I met Captain John in the Sabayati archipelago. He valued my strength, so he invited me to join John pirate crew, and gave me the order to impersonate him to recruit crew members here and attract the attention of Marines and other pirates, while he would look for the real treasure. Quote. Hey, acting bastard, we are not interested in your experiences with John, what we want to ask is, where is John, do you understand? Queen watched as he talked for quite a while, but he didn't say anything useful, and he couldn't help but be a little impatient. Do you want me to look for that pervert and have him come back to talk to you? No, don't. Right, Captain John gave me something, and I will be able to find him with that. It's a small piece of paper hidden in my hat. Queen tore off his hat, and inside was a piece of paper pointing north. This is John's Vivre card. Brother Kaido, it will be much easier to find John with this. Purururu, purururu, purururu. Purururu, purururu, purururu. At this time, Den Den Mushi, which they found earlier from his body, began to ring. Hidden. Answer the phone, you had better not say anything unnecessary. Queen picked up Den Den Mushi and put it in front of Ralph, showing the same dangerous smile, but when they heard the voice from the other side of Den Den Mushi, they didn't expect Ralph to be someone with a lot of secrets. Ralph, it's me Spandine. Zephyr's fleet will reach the 277th branch in 2 days. Hurry up and get out of there, understand? Yes, I understand. Huh. Why are you talking so strangely, and what happened there? Why didn't the others send back any information? Those pirates broke out into a confrontation, maybe the people you arranged were injured. Ralph, you better be honest with me. Rocks, treasure is not something that someone like you can obtain. Zephyr will arrive soon, don't fall into his hands. The voice fell and Spandine disconnected the Den Den Mushi. While a more dangerous smile appeared on Queen's face. Oh, it looks like you didn't quite tell the truth. No, wait. I just didn't finish yet. And you guys also haven't asked anything like that yet. Then now you can honestly explain why you were in contact with Spandine, someone from CP9. Spandine, Spandam's father, is currently the chief of CP9. Although the outside world only knows that the world government has CP1 to CP8, CP9 and CP0 is not a secret to powerful people. Queen, who had been an experienced person in the illegal research team, of course knows enough about it. Moreover, when Vegapunk was forcibly recruited by the government, it was Spandine who was leading the team. A pirate, or a pirate who has just set out to sea not long ago, even if he is a super rookie, being related to the world government and a big pirate at the same time, is not quite normal. Under the terrifying shadow of King, Ralph finally told everything. He was arrested once long before he arrived on Sabayati Archipelago. Originally, he would have been sent to Impel Down, a large prison under the sea, but he met Spandine. After the Rocks pirates were wiped out, peace did not return to the sea. With the current world government's policy, it is impossible for the pirates to be eradicated. The situation in the sea is the result of their laissez-faire attitude. Rocks originally acted as powerful shackles, forcibly binding the monsters in the sea together, but his defeat caused those shackles to completely disappear. Most of the monsters in New World today were once the crew members of Rocks pirates: Whitebeard Edward Newgate, Golden Lion Shiki, Big Mom Charlotte Linlin, Captain John, Akoku and Silver Axe. They have nearly occupied more than half of the New World. They are not afraid of pirates, nor are they afraid that pirates are too strong. What they are worried about is that these pirates would suddenly become stupid and do something incomprehensible, just like Rocks back then. Everyone knew about Rock's ambitions, but who would have thought that he would attack celestial dragons directly? In order to prevent encountering lunatics like Rocks again, Cypher Pole of World Government began to try to plant undercover agents among the pirates who can send them timely information on these situations. This was Ralph's original mission, to enter New World and join a certain pirate's crew, and to send back information regularly. Part of his bounty was deliberately promoted by Spandine. Spandine isn't that outstanding, but he has powerful connections in world government. After all, he could push Spandam, his useless son, to the position of CP9 chief. Later, Ralph met John in the Sabayati Archipelago and was crushed again. In the first half of Grand Line, he could basically rely on Devil Fruit's ability to lord over a region, and Legiotype users even have a quite lofty position. In the eyes of those who have just set out to sea, Legiotype means invincibility, but in the more competitive New World, as hockey becomes common, people who rely solely on Devil Fruit ability will easily suffer heavily. With Act Fruit, Ralph's physical skills are not powerful. After all, his mask can be used to imitate abilities, and he can also obtain a puppet army. With these abilities and Spandine's arrangement, he smoothly arrived in the first half of Grand Line. But John gave him a huge shock, making him realize the cruelty of the pirate world. At that moment, he regretted going out to sea. However, John valued his mask ability, so he was also recruited by John. At that time, he was already afraid, so he told Spandine that he didn't want to enter the New World, and he also told about John, but he didn't expect that Spandine would put forward a new condition to him. As long as he can go undercover among John pirates and find clues to the treasure, then world government can cancel his bounty and make him a lawful citizen again. There are many people who are tempted by Rocks treasures, including world government. After all, they are the treasures of the entire Rocks pirates. It is impossible for mere gold and silver coins to earn the fancy of Rocks. They must be priceless treasures at worst. But they gained nothing from the Battle of God Valley except for rescuing celestial dragons, defeating Rocks, and eliminating many of Rocks' crew members. Rocks' treasures had disappeared without a trace, and even the world government couldn't find where those treasures were. However, based on the confession of the surviving pirates, there is a high probability that this wealth is with John. But even so, they didn't look for it with great fanfare. First reason is that John's traces are hard to find as he is quite powerful, and searching for him is too much of a waste of manpower. He is the only pirate in the New World who doesn't have a fixed territory, and he is always moving around treasure hunting or robbing treasures. Moreover, many of Rocks' treasures were robbed from the treasuries of the allied kingdoms. If the discovery of his treasures was known to everyone, then the treasures belonging to the kingdoms must be returned. But if they find them secretly, not only will the treasures belong to world government, but Spandine will also get a lot of benefits, so he made this request to Ralph. In order to become an ordinary person again, Ralph accepted John's invitation. Then John personally attacked South Blue's Marine Branch, and then have Ralph transform into his appearance, and released information for recruitment into John's fleet. John also knew that many people were eyeing him. Rocks' treasures are abundant enough to drive anyone crazy, moreover money is just the most common thing among them. His purpose was to attract everyone's attention, while he would take advantage of this interval to find those things. Rox is a pirate, not a mobile bank. He didn't bring all his treasures with him when he sailed, just like Kano Country's Qinzhao, who hid all his treasures in the perpetually frozen ice continent. Rox only used to bring a small part of it aboard the ship. Chapter 25. You are a double agent.